This is an Alternerd reality podcast.
What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Alternate Reality Podcast, a podcast for all things nerdy out there, from gaming to TV to movies to comics, you name it, it is here, ladies and gents. I'm your host, Chewburger84, and joining me, as always, are the legendary Hebrew Hammer.
What is up, everyone?
And, of course, Piker. Welcome back, lads.
What's going on?
Dude, crazy week. Super cool week, but big. I've done more gaming this week than I've done any other week, and it's all been for one game. So I'm
That's
a little
fantastic,
bit gamed out right now.
because I've done the least amount of gaming I have in like forever, so you can compensate for me.
Yeah, we'll trade weeks, I think, in this upcoming week.
Please.
Yeah, because you spent a lot of time with like family this week, didn't you? That pulled you away from gaming. Like, it's not that you didn't want to; it was just real life out there.
Yeah, the only gaming I was playing was like Lego Worlds with my 5-year-old. While you guys are, chasing ISO and Avengers and, crushing the levels, I'm, helping the little Lego character, complete the quest.
Yeah, I was
Good
wondering,
times.
it always said that you were on in Lego World, and I was like, maybe he actually just loves Lego World, and he's just saying that his kid is on it.
Yeah, has like an unhealthy affinity for Lego Worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Too ashamed
not so
to
much.
admit it.
Yeah, he read the briefing wrong from last night. Like, he's all geared up for the big Lego World Chat today, only to realize it's actually Avengers. God damn it.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yep, exactly.
All right, folks. So, look, this is a brand new podcast. So, of course, we do need your help to stay on the air and to grow this bad boy into what we would love it to become. So, look, if you do have nerdy friends out there, make sure you tell them all about this podcast, the Alternate Reality Podcast, and where they can find it and download it. It's now available on all of the apps. And also, we're going to be releasing episodes on YouTube, but there will be a delay from the download versus the YouTube versions. Now, if you'd like to go a little bit further to help out the show, you can head on over and leave us a review. Anyone that does leave us a 5-star review, we'll read out their reviews at the end of the show as a way of saying thank you very much for doing that for us. So Apple Store, leave us those 5-star reviews. It really helps people find us. And then if you want to go a little bit further, you can head on over to our Patreon. So at www.patreon.com/ANRpod. And this week we had Rockstar and Nightside do just that. Once we get to the first week of October, we'll be doing a full readout of all the people that support this show at the end, again, as a way of giving back to those of you who give to us. So thank you to all of you who have been listening. We've been really blown away by the support so far, lads. Because let's face it, this is the podcast we wanted for a while. Just to be able to jump on, shoot the shit between three lads between the stuff we love. That's why I dig it, man.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, pretty much we took the other pods that we did, we took the parts that we liked about them, and then we combined them all to create this beautiful cocktail of a podcast that we have now. So I kind of love it.
Well, look, I mean, that's the thing. I got a lot of shit for leaving the main podcast that I was doing for 2 years because it was dedicated to one game. And people were like, no, do this game forever. It's like, man, I'd rather grind my testicles across a cheese grater for 4 consistent hours than log back into that game. And doing a podcast for that's just rough when you can talk about games that you love or love to hate, as the game we're going to talk about this week. I've definitely had some moments. But yeah, it's just one of those things. So you had family in town, Piker. Any exciting adventures for you guys?
My offspring started kindergarten, so that was an adventure. Nothing, too game related. But yeah, that was in the era of COVID, shall we say. Mixing some virtual kindergarten with in-person kindergarten is never something I thought I would experience. And, getting a 5-year-old to sit for a streamed kindergarten class is testing all of my my parenting skills, shall we say.
How do you even finger paint over Skype? Like, what does that look like? What does kindergarten online look like?
So you think that there's a lot of apps and, games and things set up for, gamers. The sheer number of educational apps that these schools have tapped into is completely insane. He's starting kindergarten. They sent home a laptop. So he's got a laptop and there's, painting apps that he has to, draw his name in different colors and it submits to his teacher, and you're answering, math questions in order to get your little race car to drive through the little town. So it's insane. Not at all what I was expecting, but I mean, I guess such is the world right now.
I feel like I'm even from a like college standpoint, like I feel like there's so much offloading onto technology now that the teachers are almost becoming superfluous, at least in the college atmosphere, for not all of the genres of classes, but for at least a lot of them. You could tell like they put in zero effort and they're just like, do whatever on the syllabus, hit up the schedule, and just like do these automated programs. Like, is it feel similar in the kindergarten era? Because it always surprises me how much technology is infused in the younger generation now.
Okay, so the way that, you know, his kindergarten is working is that they're doing a cohort model, which is like split. So some of the time, like 2 days a week, they're going to be in school, and every other day they're going to be at home. And then you had the option as a parent to opt out and go full virtual if you wanted. So, and then they split the class into like a morning session and a PM session. So the teacher actually has to create a curriculum for in class for both the AM and the PM. And then they have to create a curriculum for the complete virtual for every week. So wow. I was with you originally, like they can kind of phone this in, but hearing a little bit about what they have to do now, I mean, they're doubling up and doing all of this additional prep work to try to accommodate parents as best they can, whether their kids are attending or doing it virtual.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my respect goes out to them because they are definitely doing everything that they can right now to, you know, make it the best experience they can and still get something done. I mean, I'm thankful that he is just in kindergarten because he doesn't know any different. You know, for him, this is normal. But I can only imagine, you know, parents out there that have kids of, you know, early high school age or, you know, middle school that are trying to adjust whenever they're used to going to school, you know, full time, to now do those things at home and, you know, get their kids to adjust accordingly. It's not easy for parents, shall we say. It's good to have some games to escape into after a long day. I'll say that much.
Do you feel like, sorry, I don't want this to become like a huge sideshow on it, but like, do you feel like they're maybe missing out on like huge development dynamics like socially because of COVID right now? I mean, what if this continues? Do you think that your kid no offense, do you think your kid's gonna grow up like just not knowing how to socialize well with other people? Or well, I think
that's definitely there's definitely a fair question. I mean, I was encouraged with his first day at kindergarten. He came home and he said that he made a friend. He didn't know his name, but he played with another kid and he said that he made a friend. So, you know, that was encouraging, that despite the face masks, that despite the distancing of their, you know, tables, because everybody's sitting 6 feet away, that despite all of the changing of what we would consider to be normal going to school, the kids still found a way to make a friend. So I was incredibly encouraged, both in education and kind of humanity in that way. It's kind of like, you know, that scene in Jurassic Park where life will find a way, you know, friendships will kind of find a way a little bit. So I thought that was, you know, that filled me with a little bit of hope that, you know, even though there's a lot of craziness, kids are still going to be kids, and you do the best you can, and you do let them have a little fun also. So
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and the story about him finding a friend at school is adorable till you find out it's the 57-year-old janitor.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have nightmares now.
Don't tell them my name.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, man. It just turns out he's hiding in the cupboard, just telling you all these stories about his new friend in the cupboard. And he's like, oh, it's adorable. He's got a visible friend. No, it's a creepy monster.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's going to be going to school with Mace in his backpack now. Thanks.
When the podcast turns dark.
Yeah, you got to teach him stranger danger. That's what it's all about.
Oh, so this is a bit of a tangent. We did. And then what happened is any person he walked past, like in the grocery store, you'd hear him shout, "Dad, is that person a stranger? Is he dangerous?" And you're like 2 feet from the person, and they're looking at you.
Damn straight, son.
Yeah,
this person is.
You should have leaned into it. Just gone. See the mustache on that guy, son? That's a clear indicator of a pedo. You should definitely avoid anyone with that kind of a mustache.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. But man, like, talk about teachers, man. Like, those guys are on the front line, though. Like, I mean, they've had everything upturned. You know, anyone that's been teaching for a long time now has to learn everything from scratch. Like, a lot of those, you know, fifth gen teachers that are now having to learn what Zoom is, let alone,
Exactly.
being around kids who, let's face it, love them to death, but they're gross human beings, right?
Yeah.
They lick and touch everything. And I could only imagine the increased risk of COVID that those teachers have, man. So hashtag real heroes right there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah. What about you, Hebrew? Anything exciting in your week this week?
Not much. I mean, like, it's just kind of the same old. Classes started back up again, like, at the late August. So just kind of, the first week is always bullshit. Read your syllabus, blah, blah, blah. And then it finally starts going into the stuff that actually takes a decent amount of attention. But yeah, it's interesting. Still waiting for one of those funny Zoom class stories. Have you guys heard about some of the ones
where
that
someone
happened?
made absolutely? I've seen some that are definitely stitch ups, like that one where the guy is like, he goes, "All right, guys, I'll see you later," and he's clearly in a work meeting, and then like walks away, gets a bottle of lotion, like sits next to the thing, he's getting tissues, he's obviously setting up for a FAP.
Yeah.
It's so scripted that you can tell old mate's stitching it up, but it doesn't matter. Everyone's going, "Oh my god, call Jeff. He's about to make a very bad mistake."
Right.
Yeah. But some of them are hilarious.
Yeah, I've seen one where a kid was straight up robbed, and like everyone like responded in the class and was like, "Oh shit." And he legitimately was robbed, and they ended up catching the people.
God.
And then I saw, or this was a Today I Fucked Up on Reddit, but there's several of these, but like, oh my god, I forgot the camera was on. Who knows if they're real or not, but I could definitely see it happening. But they end up, their tits are out on the podcast, or their dicks out, something like that.
Well, mate, happens to the best of us. I mean, the biggest one this week, with Endgame, obviously we all heard about America's ass, right?
No.
Like Captain America. Like there was that line from Captain America where it's just
This
like,
is
it's
America's ass.
Yeah. Well, it turns out this week you can see America's dick because Chris Evans messed up and accidentally leaked his own dick pic on social media and immediately pulled it down, but not before an incredible amount of thirsty girls and boys screenshotted the shit out of that. And please don't share that around, guys. Like, it's basically, revenge porny. Don't do it. But it is hilarious that it happens to even, Captain America accidentally released his hog in the wild. So
That is crazy.
yeah.
That is hysterical.
Hilarious.
I mean,
unless it happens to you, in which case, devastating.
yeah. I mean, I feel like he's probably working with something that's okay, so I'm sure he'll walk away
Oh,
fine.
mate, that guy's definitely like doing cock push-ups. You know what I mean? Like, I reckon that guy's dick has abs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised if it was quote unquote like an accident. Yeah, it was like, oh no, now this is out.
Yeah, it's been a dry spell through COVID. I need to basically get the word out that I'm working with a weapon. Yeah.
So yeah,
Fair play.
Always interesting stuff though. Still waiting for that to happen. We'll see.
Yeah, is there any weird onboarding stuff for you? It feels like every new year of college, I'm talking to you, there's something new. Like, I remember during Porn and Politics podcast, there was like, all right, before you have sex, you have to sign a contract now. There's got to be weird stuff with COVID.
Yeah.
Like, do you get the rundown of, all right, no frat parties, no licking people in public? Is it anything like that?
You can't lick people in public anymore?
Yeah, what the hell? What's the world coming to?
Well, they get a doll and they say, okay, here and here are acceptable, here and here, no.
Everything's kind of just shut down. I mean, like, honestly, like, there's not much going on. Like, there are still, like, parties, of course, but, I mean, they're not near in the numbers that they were. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, everything's just, like, super, like, you're still busy from, like, schoolwork and everything, but the social component has gone, like, way down.
Right.
Yeah, there's just not too much. That's why it's kind of boring this year overall. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm just hoping that COVID goes away soon so I can get back to normal life. I honestly hate. I mean, like I used to like online classes because you were able to mix it up with real life classes, but all online classes suck. Seeing college professors really phone in their shit really sucks. So tuition went up. Surprisingly, like that doesn't even make any sense to me. Yeah, pretty much everywhere tuition went up again, and it's crazy to me. That doesn't even make sense. So they said it was for.
Well, I wonder if you guys have the same issues that Australia does. That like most of the cash that universities make is like from the foreign students. Like they always have the thing in Australia where like you get a slightly subsidized rate if you're an Aussie citizen, but if you're a foreigner, you're paying stupendous amounts for the same degree that we are getting. I wonder if that's the case, that because you're not getting as many foreign students, because obviously international travel and living overseas right now is basically dead. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Who
they're still allowed
knows?
to be in, though. I mean, like, they just have to do distance classes as well. So, I don't know.
True.
They said they claimed that it was for building infrastructure to support online classes, but I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows indeed. What do you say, boys? Should we get into some nerdy stuff?
Yeah,
Let's get
probably
into
about that time.
But all right, so we're gonna start with what we've been playing all this week, guys. Marvel's Avengers, specifically on PS4 for the three of us. Let's start with you, Piker, and your experiences, because you haven't played quite as much as the two of us. But I'd love to hear your perspective as an Iron Man main.
Yeah, so it's been interesting because this week, kind of seeing how much you guys have played compared to how little I've played has really reinforced how casual of a gamer I actually feel like I am. Late last week and early this week, we were kind of sharing, some of our builds and what we had accomplished in the missions and our power levels. And there was a significant amount of oh shit, I am not even coming close to keeping pace with you guys. The amount of stuff that you're getting through, the amount of gear, I just have not had the time to put into this. This is crazy. I need to not sleep for 3 days just to freaking catch up. But luckily I was able to a little bit yesterday. So I was able to get my Iron Man, who's really the only character I've been able to touch at this point, up to level 50. And I think he's 131, 132 power right now. So he's knocking on the door of being close to kind of being done if I can get the right gear and the right build around him. But playing with you, Chu, especially yesterday, you mentioned something that so much of his gear is built around, melee, and just how he's not his skills are just not built for that. He can't fill that role. And so I was really enjoying the range sort of build that I had on him until I'm starting to see all of this, end game legendary gear not fit with the range build that I kind of wanted to have. So it's a little dichotomous in that I'm struggling with kind of the end game for Iron Man specifically and how his gear falls, but still enjoying the actual missions, probably because I haven't played them enough for them to become uber stale or uber repetitive yet. We'll kind of see. But I'm still enjoying it. But there again, it comes with the caveat that I have not sunk in nearly the amount of time that you guys have. But it's definitely still something that I want to play more and continue to work on.
What do you think has been the favorite part of your game so far? What are you enjoying the most in this thing?
So first, I would say any game that lets me kit out and build and play as Iron Man is just, it has a warm, cozy spot next to my heart. That's just a good time. But beyond that, getting to finally team up and play a game with you and with Hebrew and some of our other friends and some of the guys that, have, found us on Discord and, we've gotten to catch up with and do that. That has been a lot of fun. Just the multiplayer experience, I would say, has been so much fun, and doing it in a Marvel universe that we're all familiar with, that we all love, that we find so much enrichment and enjoyment from. That's been the thing for me so far. I hope that this game continues to expand. I'm optimistic for some of the things that I'm hearing that are coming soon. I hope that they come sooner rather than later, and with them a lot of solutions to a lot of bugs and a lot of patches to a lot of exploits. So I'm sure we'll talk more about that, but I'm optimistic, but I would probably say cautiously so at the moment.
What about you, Hebrew?
Yeah, so there are some good things about this game for sure. I mean, the IP is great. And trying to think of another really good one. The game, the core gameplay is really fun. And the graphics the photo mode is fantastic. That is actually straight up photo mode.
I agree. Yeah.
Really, I've never played around with the photo mode before. I gotta say, I love it. Absolutely fantastic gear. Pretty good graphics. Still not a fan of the hair situation for the graphics. That's very nitpicky, I know, but it is real. But yeah, for outside of that though, I just feel like this game is setting itself up for failure. If I want to give a realistic outlook on it, I think that's what it is right now. It has so much potential, which is what makes me so mad about it, is because this game could be so cool, and it has legs, but it's just, there's so many things that are just even so simple that I can't believe they haven't touched yet. And they recently put a patch out, which was honestly felt like an insult, because after so many days of it being out, and I don't care if people say, well, it wasn't officially out until the 4th, like, it was pre-released early, right? I'm not even including beta time, right? Which things should have been fixed from the beta, because they had a long beta for a console game, and they didn't touch any of the bugs there. But from whenever it released with early release, it's just been so long for so many of the same bugs. Like, missing stat points should not be an issue still. Like, things like not being able to get your big daily quests should not be an issue. We have people that aren't able to get either faction's big quest, like, some days. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So there's like these really simple things that are like cornerstones to actually playing this game and, you know, progressing. It feels bad. And so you're forced to do these, and it would be like very repetitive no matter what, but it helps lean into the fact that it is really repetitive in the environments that you see, in the runs that you play, and the enemies that you fight. There's just so much there that needs to be expanded upon. And you really start to, once the rose-colored glasses kind of fall off, now that it's been out for a little bit, you really start to see this kind of stuff. And once you kind of get normalized to how good, because I will say, like, the combat, as far as, like, you know, the intricacy of the combat, granted, you usually end up falling on like 2 combos or so, but like you can really spread your legs with like a decent amount of intricacy whenever it comes to combos and building your character the way you want, and, you know, trying to remember thoughtful gameplay. But yeah, there's just a lot of really big buggy issues that need to be fixed, and it's just the response of the developers have been the most disappointing to me. And I always used to say, like, it's kind of feeling a little bit like Anthem. Well, now it's really, really feeling like Anthem, and potentially maybe even worse. So they need to, this next patch is going to be critical, in my opinion, for like the success or failure of this game. Yeah, what about you, Jim?
Yeah, I am a little bit worried at the moment about the future of this game, because obviously I wanted this to be, you know, the game that I was playing for the next couple of months is my main thing.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that, you know, go in maybe an hour every day, and then, you know, maybe I'll pivot to whatever else I'm playing at that stage in between until we get raids and whatnot. So look, there is fun to be had. Like, I mean, there is parts of the combat where you have those moments that keep you going, where like you nail that perfect dodge, where it's like, there's no way I'm going to get out of this, and then you do. Right, and then you know, you get the perfect reflect on a Captain America shield. So you know, this projectile that should have murdered you in one shot, all of a sudden bounces back and kills the guy that threw it at you. Like, all these little things that come up, you know, really satisfying things like Thor, that you can throw Mjolnir and it'll pin the enemy to the ground, and because Mjolnir is so heavy they can't get up. You know, things like that are hilarious. Or like the fun moment this week where we found let's call it an exploit, because it is. Where using the PIM technology, you can shrink down Taskmaster to a size where Hulk can pick him up and just throw him off the roof. So you skip the entire boss fight, right? So there's some really hilarious things you can do with the game's mechanics, and really entertaining things that I think those core mechanics of the game make me want to keep playing for now, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you need to be able to have somewhere to do that. And the problem is the end game, right? And this is where you mentioned Anthem, and this is where they're really, really, really going to have to be careful about the next 6 to 8 weeks, because people won't really push past a month usually. Like, I'm already seeing some people, because of the bug issues alone, putting in refund requests with Steam and PS4. Because for some people, like they've had more issues than us, that they've had game-breaking issues where with the campaign, they can't finish it. Because there's areas where just loading in, they just fall through the world forever, and they can't play.
Yeah.
Right. So they've just patched in those, so people now can at least play the campaign, and the campaign is definitely the best thing of the game. Like, the story is great.
Yeah.
The visuals are great. The way they go into, you know, like having some deep moments for some of the characters, I think is definitely something that endears you to this game and makes you like those characters. And when I was taking each of the characters up to the soft cap of 130, because I've done that with all the characters now because I'm an idiot. Like, there was no stale feeling about it, because like each new character felt fresh. All their combos and play styles were so very different that felt good. But then when you get to the end, it's like, okay, what's my main going to be? All right, I'm going to do Thor. Now I got to go up to 150. How does that look? So you have sort of two bottlenecks towards the end at the moment. One being these things called polychorons. The other ones being these upgrade modules. Now, upgrade modules are relatively easy to come by. It just involves a lot of repetition, like vaults or missions. Every time you open a chest, if you do high difficulty, maybe you get 3 of these things. And to take a character from 130 to 150 takes around 400. So we worked out that, with the most efficient farm method that we found, you could probably take a character up to that 140 point in probably around 4 hours. But these polychorons are the real bottleneck. And the real problem, like you said before, is that the main quests to get them are broken. That every day you go to get them, it says, oh, you've already done this, bro. See you tomorrow. And that leaves a list of things to do, which honestly, if you do like 2 missions, all your dailies are done. And I worry that if there's not enough endgame content for you to do right now, and you can't even do the big daily quests, you might only need to log on for 15 minutes a day. And that's going to affect matchmaking and whatnot. And eventually, if there's no endgame to play and there's no one to play with, because the matchmaking is still pretty much broken, people are going to stop coming back. But let's talk about the end game that is in game right now, because you and I have both had a crack Hebrew. Have you had a go at the Elite Heroic Hive yet, Piker?
No, I haven't. I think you have to have all of the different characters' heroic quests done, and I don't yet.
Yeah, that's not too hard to do. We can run you through that during the week. But
excellent.
Look, here's the thing. It is terrible. Like the thing itself is quite fun, but it also just reinforces how little there really is in the end game. Because in these 14 randomized floors, you'll do the same 3 things that you only really do, and it exposes that there's only really 3 types of missions that you do in this game now outside of the story for endgame. Like you're either capping a point, beating the crap out of a computer, or you're just killing dudes, right? They're the 3 things. And you do that for 14 floors. The idea is don't die. If you die, it's going to shift to your next character, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, like the whole promise is you can get exotic loot. This is where you get the end game loot until raids come. The problem is twofold. One, the drop rates look like they're incredibly, incredibly low. We don't know what the drop rates are. There are no loot tables. And 2, the gear is either bugged or sucks, right?
Yeah.
This is a loot-based collector game, right? So all these things like Destiny or Anthem or all of them, they all either succeed or fall based on the loot. Like you have to have something at the end that is tantalizing and that is powerful and makes you want to say, okay, I need to keep doing this until I get this thing. When I get this thing, the build that I want, like you mentioned before, Piker, maybe it's like, oh, this is what makes the missile build work for Iron Man. Oh, this is the laser build that works that I really want to do. And once I get that, and then I can play Iron Man the way that I want. It's going to have this cool move or this cool power, whatever. It's not there because as we're finding in this game, there are multiple tiers, but the main gear that you're going to get in any game is either rare, epic, legendary, or exotic, right? At the moment, with the way the dice roll, there is absolutely no difference whatsoever between epic, legendary, and exotic for most pieces, which is ridiculous because if you can just take a purple piece, which is way cheaper to upgrade, which is way more accessible, and it's got better stats than most of the end-game crappy randomized loot, why run that content? But more specifically, we mentioned like the upgrade modules. Because the loot quality is so low or bugged that you might actually get what should have been an exotic, but thanks to a bug gives you a level 1 green item, you spend 90 minutes when you're doing the hardest difficulty of this hive to get 5 upgrade modules. Now, the run that we've found in this game, you could get 9 of those upgrade modules in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you don't get exotic loot at the end, which is probably going to be crap anyway, you've spent 90 minutes on something that feels grindy, is not rewarding, doesn't progress your ability to go through the game. Like it's not ticking any other boxes other than you testing yourself. And they reward you with a massive slap in the face. So I'm really worried that if they don't pull their finger out and address that soon, we're in trouble. And when you see the roadmap and it's all about this character's going to come and this character's going to come, like I just left a game where they really considered new content to be new characters. But these kind of games succeed when you've got something to do with those characters. And right now, you're playing this game for the love of the game. You're not playing it for the love of loot or completion, because those things don't exist. And because of this, we're seeing people go to extreme lengths to work around this garbage system, that we're seeing people basically abusing exploits in the game, the things that I would see in most games would get you banned. So, for example, those daily quests we're talking about, people are manipulating their save states on the PlayStation to change the time zone. So what they're doing is they're basically completing all their daily quests, changing the time and the time zone, and the game is dumb enough to let them do that, you're in the future now, therefore you must get the dailies again, sir. And we're seeing people maxing out all their characters by basically cheating, right? It's not in a good state. And I think that the shine really wears off. I think players who, are still in that casual casual farming of getting up to that 130, 140, probably still having fun. But if you are onto your second character or anything like that, if you're like one of those seriously grindy farming players who loves Destiny 2 for the loot shooters where, you put on your headphones and listen to a Joe Rogan podcast or ASMR, whatever you're into, while you're gaming, while you're talking shit with your friends, those sort of things, you're ticking those boxes while you're talking with your friends. And honestly, if we didn't have the community that we did, keeping me sane while we were doing these runs, and I had to rely on public matchmaking, I would have uninstalled already. Like, that's where we're at. Yeah. Like, I'm really disappointed with the caliber of it. Now, look, I know it's a weekend. I know they're saying that we're going to have raids and stuff like that very shortly. But what I'm concerned about is that if they don't fix what's happening outside of raids, remember that raids in any of these games relies on synergy. You have to be part of an alliance or a guild and have 4 to 6 regular friends, depending on how many people these raids require in one hit. They all have to be max level. They all have to be working in a synergy to get it done. If you don't have that, you're not going to play that, right? So what do you do with the game? What's your goal? What are you going to get done? So there's a lot they need to address. And that's not even going into the bugs that you guys mentioned. Like, they are game breaking, frustrating, PS4 freezing. I think I'm up to 8 blue screens of death this week since the last pod. And usually during big moments. I think you had one the other day, Hebrew, where you were like, 10 floors of 14 or something, and your game just froze, right?
On the hardest difficulty of the hardest content, of the longest content in the game, it froze on me. So I'd already pumped in about an hour's worth of work, and it froze on me, so I didn't get anything. It was terrible. Ugh.
Yeah, that's it. And I think a lot of mispromise too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you highlighted everything there perfectly with like the end game, because it's I'm very upset with how that's looking right now. And you and I even mentioned, like, when we were first playing this game, whenever we got into legendary territory for gear to drop, we were like, wow, legendaries are coming like way, way too often. And it's like, kind of weird for a gamer to be like, dude, I feel like I'm getting too much. But it really is like, it just shows how off base they are. They're having legendaries drop exactly like epics are. Basically, not now is the thing. So there's a lot of people that have been grinding it the same as myself, that there's a lot of different modes now, especially vaults, where they put out a patch the other day and they were saying, okay, we're fixing this, we're fixing that. You might notice that we've made some changes to loots now, because there was one, and let's face it, this is the first thing they addressed because it would have cost them money. There was one mission that every time you finished it, and you could finish it in around 5 minutes if you knew the route and you were overpowered, that you could basically get a free pattern every time you finished, right? That goes into the randomizer. Once you put it in the randomizer, one of two things happens. You get a new costume that you haven't unlocked yet, or you get a duplicate and it gives you the in-game currency units, which you can then use to buy new costumes, emotes, etc. from the store. Now, they realized that people had now had like hundreds or thousands of these things because they were able to run, 4 to 6 minutes back to back to back to back to back over a period of 5 days. And they went, oh no, these people are never going to buy anything ever again because they have so much of this currency. So guess what they patched? That. They didn't patch all the major issues in the game. They patched the thing that protected their income. And this is something that drives me crazy with developers of microtransactional
add-ons with games is that they go, okay, we need to scramble, and they show you what they're capable of. They show you what they can fix in a very, very short period of time. They showed us, mate, that they can change the loot tables in a heartbeat, because we saw them, A, remove the patterns completely from that reward, and then B, legendary drop rates have definitely 100% been nerfed. But what they're dumb enough to not realize at this stage, or they're not listening, is that the purple gear in many cases is better than the legendaries anyway. So they really haven't nerfed the drop rate, because we're still getting quality gear, because they're, the loot-based system is broken. And that's where they risk the Anthem mistake. If you make a loot-based game and the end-game content is interesting but doesn't feel rewarding, especially if you have to play all the way through the end to get one reward maybe, and that reward is then terrible, people will stop coming back. So they might say, oh, look, it's only been a weekend release, but you need to remember what the back end of 2020 looks like, folks. The back end for gaming of 2020, early 2021, thanks to COVID, is dense. You've got all the cyberpunks and all those massively hyped up games that people have been really looking for. You have a new console coming as well, so that's going to cause a lot of distractions, or consoles, a lot of distractions for people. They're going to walk away from games they're playing to try new things. They might say, I want to go back and play this remastered version of something because now I can play it in 4K at 120 frames. I want to see what that looks like. And because this game isn't rewarding enough, eventually I'll come back to Avengers. And then they hear from their friends that didn't change, so they don't come back. And that was the death of Anthem. And Anthem's been making all sorts of promises for, over a year now, and it's not going to be fulfilled. I'm really nervous that they're coasting on the IP, and I hope that they really, really turn that around the next week, because the end game is where it's at. But I think for most players, look, if you want to pick this up and play this casually, listen to this conversation. The guy that's grinded the crap out of this game to get to the end and get the most feedback to people listening right now is the one frustrated. Piker, however, is still having quite a pleasant experience because he hasn't gotten there yet. So the early to mid game feels good, right?
Yeah. Definitely. And, listening to that, it kind of raised a big question for me. And it was, in thinking about this, what is the reason behind it? Are the developers, is this what they had intended and maybe they're just missing the mark? Is it bugs and they just, they have some things to clean up and the game will get better? Or are they inept? Did they create a fatally flawed gaming experience that really can't be redeemed via Anthem? I think kind of thinking about that and determining the answer to that question really determines if there is life for this game beyond the next month.
Yeah, I think like I said in a different chat we had, like, for me at least, seeing what the next patch looks like is going to be critical in determining if I'm going to continue playing this game or not. Because if, like, this patch better be massive, it better fix so much stuff. And if it doesn't, and if it's like the last little patch that we had where it's basically insulting as, like, there's 1,000 fires and they put out 2 that no one even really cares about, like if I get another one of those, I'm done. And I'm telling everyone that they should quit too. Like, it just, at that point, they don't deserve customers. You know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you a question. What if you just get new campaign? Like, what if you get the Kate Bishop and Clint campaign add-on?
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about?
I think we're all going to come back and play that. But yeah. That's going to be what? Maybe if the main storyline all up is around 10 hours. That's with exploratory. I've seen people do it at under 6 who just like skip cutscenes and stuff, which are ruining the best parts of the game, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
Maybe a couple of hours of content.
Yeah. They even said that it's going to be a couple hours. So
yeah. And then the time to grind that character out. But now that we know like the fastest way to level things and you've got mates with, higher characters that can carry you, you're talking an afternoon to get through the new campaign and probably max her out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes down to principle for me. Like, I'm just like, if you're not going to put effort into fixing your game and you just want to coast off the IP, I'm not going to give you my time. And I'm not going to give you, like, any expansions that they come out with. Like, granted, I think the expansions for this are supposed to be free, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this stage. The new characters, yes. We don't know if there's going to be, like, we're doing the AIM storyline right now for the main thing, but I do foresee this having Destiny-style expansions.
Yeah.
Where, like, they'll have a massive... It's basically like the new game. And that's absolutely fine with me. Like, I mean, if they do
As long as
that
they make it
and it's the
worthwhile
right game.
content. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the real big decision they need to now make. Is this going to be a Destiny 1 situation, or is this going to be an Anthem situation?
Yeah.
Are they going to do what Destiny did, where they released a game that, I mean, see if this sounds familiar, Hebrew, had very little endgame content, had about a third of what was actually promised or shown during the release cycle, and had nothing to do in the endgame, and the loot felt terrible, right?
Yeah.
Then they turned that around. It did take them about 9 months, like in the end. It turned into being like people's like one of their favorite games or multiplayer experiences of the generation because it felt rewarding. They fixed those things. They took the time. They listened to the feedback.
Yeah.
And I think Crystal Dynamics Square Enix is the right company for this problem to have, because I do have a lot of trust that they have the capacity to do this. We've seen them do it with Final Fantasy Online. That they did take a game that was very average when it launched too. Like a lot of the same issues we're having right now were there in Final Fantasy. But they took the time and they really doubled down and reinvested. And that game is now in pretty great shape. Their expansions are well known from MMO enthusiasts as being very, very good.
Well,
some frustrations.
Let me ask you two, do you have any idea how sales have been for this game? Like, have they met expectations?
So this is a good point. A lot of people have been tracking the concurrent users on Steam especially, and it's very low for a game of this IP. Like compared to other things. Now, there's a lot of people suggesting that a lot of people are in either, COVID pause, which basically means, look, I've only got so much money for games. This one's not sounding, it's in great stage right now. I can come back because let's face it, games as a service, you can jump in any time. You don't have to be there day one, right? I'm going to save my money for Cyberpunk. I'm going to pick and choose based on what I see on the reviews. And then, of course, there was the review bombing. I mean, there was a lot of people that were so pissed off about the Sony exclusivity. There's a lot of people that were confused by the challenge card system. Oh, man, this is bullshit. I'm not paying fucking $10 for every new character that comes to the game. And that kind of went viral. People didn't fact check that. And they were like, oh, this sounds terrible. This sounds like another greedy developer. This sounds like they're selling everything to PS4. I can't do that. Therefore, I'm going to make it a 1 on Metacritic. So a lot of that, I think, really has negatively impacted the opening launch of the game. But plus wariness. I mean, once bitten, twice shy. Look at how many games this has happened to. Destiny 1. Everyone bought in early, disappointed. Okay, I'll come back later when it's in good shape. Anthem, same boat. We're just seeing this repetitive thing where game developers, because of crunch, these poor bastards who are working so hard to make the best game they possibly can, because of some frickin' finance, basically saying, we've got the quarterly sales report coming up to the board. We need to get this fucking game out so we can make some money. Make it happen, bitches. And the guys in the front line are there working 24/7, surviving on Red Bull and gummy bears. Are forced to push out a game that they know isn't their best work because they don't have time to get there. And the release is buggy. And I think that people are starting to catch up to that. I think gamers are like, why? I'm not fucking pre-ordering anymore. This always happens. I'm not going to get a game on release. This always happens. Why wouldn't I just wait 3 months when the game goes on sale at Christmas or Black Friday or whatever? And then I'll pick it up cheaper and bug free. And you know what? Maybe I need to start doing
that might be the right way. Yeah.
I did that with both Destiny 1 and 2. So, I mean, that is a very valid point.
I fall victim of being too far behind on that kind of thing, though. That's my issue. If I'm not up front to play it, then I usually won't come back to it. So that's my problem.
And look, and FOMO is one of those things, right? That basically a lot of people still buy it from guys like us who love to compete at the top end. It's like, well, man, if I'm not there day one, I'm going to miss out on all this farm, and then I'm going to fall behind. So what's the point? I'm just going to skip it all together. Yeah. And that's very real. Yeah. And gaming companies are really pushing those kind of marketing campaigns for things. Be there day one, don't fall behind. Mobile games especially love this. So look, I don't want to spend too much more time on this because we never like being negative on things, but we like to be real. It's amazing how 7 days has changed our perspective. Because last week I was where Piker was, and I was like, man, I love the potential of this. I love where it can go. And realistically, that is what this game has. A massive amount of potential.
And
massive amount of potential.
Story and a great campaign.
Yeah. So look, for those of you that are playing, if you want to have a better experience, I can't stress this enough. Join the Alternerd Reality Discord. We've got some great people there. We've got voice channels set up that you're welcome to use. That you can basically play with people that will keep you sane through some of these frustrations if you are wanting to push forward with this game, including ourselves. If you see us on, you're welcome to flick a thing on Discord, and if we have anyone spare in a group, we've met some great people over the last week. I'm actually playing with a couple of Australians that I've never met before until a couple of days ago, and now it feels like I'm talking to them more than I'm talking to my wife. So, it's what I've always loved about gaming, man, is that,
that you talk to other people more than your wife?
Well, that too as well. No. No, just basically like you build these relationships with people you've never met. Yeah. It's amazing what you learn about people. You'll tell a story to your gaming friends while you're sitting there in the middle of the night, man, this is happening in my life, that you haven't told your best mates or your missus, because there's something about that collective bond of working towards a goal for hours and hours during a gaming experience with the anonymity of, not having the face-to-face repercussions.
Absolutely.
Those things are pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Avengers, it's where it's at, boys.
Exactly. Yeah. Overall, I will still say, if you're looking for a great story, though, this campaign is fantastic. So if you're really into stories, it's still worth a buy there, and then wait and see what happens with the game.
And look, go slow. Don't worry about the power farm, guys. It's a waste of time right
slow.
now. I can't stress that enough. It really is painful, yeah. But look, going from something that's frustrated us a little bit this week, and I guess disappointment, because we want to love this game so badly because of the IP. Let's go to something awesome now. The Boys Season 2. First 4 episodes are now out. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the bad thing first, since we're in that vibe, and then we'll get into the actual good stuff of the show.
Sure.
Are you aware that this show is being review bombed like it's Hiroshima?
Yeah, so I saw on Amazon. I think I messaged you guys the second I saw it, and I was just like, guys, are you guys aware that this thing has a 1.2 or something like that star rating? And I was like, what is going on with this? So I never found out the answer.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb, right? Let me say this out there, ladies and gents. If you listen to this podcast and you are someone that is part of this review bombing culture, go fuck yourself. Right? Because it's such a dumb thing to do. Because here's the reason why. These people that are review bombing it love the show. Love it.
Okay.
Why are they review bombing it, you ask?
Yeah.
Because they didn't release all 8 episodes on the same day.
No way.
And because, not 100%. They were so pissed off because only 3 episodes, this is bullshit. Fuck you, why am I even doing Amazon Prime? I'm going to go back to Netflix. Okay.
Wow.
Go there. And then we'll see you next week when the next episode drops.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally why it's being review bombed. Because people wanted to sit down and binge this in one day and then move on. And because they couldn't do that, because of how entitled we've become in 2020, because how reliant we've become on Netflix and binging to keep ourselves friggin' sane in this hell of year. They're review bombing it because they didn't get all their Christmas presents on the same day.
That is terrible.
Isn't that crazy?
That's the worst excuse I would have imagined. I thought it was something that made so much more sense. That was way worse.
Yeah. It'd be so like reviewing one of those special massage parlors because the woman made you come too hard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Well, outside of that guy suing Twitch earlier this year, that's still my favorite news story of 2020.
Outside of the guy suing Twitch.
The guy's suing Twitch because his life is falling apart because of all the scantily clad women on Twitch that he spends all of his time and money looking at their boobies, and that he's caused physical harm to his penis through excess masturbation. I'm not kidding. This is a real lawsuit. I'm not kidding. It is a real lawsuit that is continuing on right now, and is probably the funnest story of 2020.
That's crazy.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Talk about never taking responsibility for your actions. This is the epitome of it.
But is there a better year to have a TV show like The Boys? Because The Boys has so many moments like this, and so much about this kind of commentary on society the way it is that I cannot love this IP enough. I was absolutely amazed and blown away by season 1, and season 2 No spoilers in this one, guys. We don't know if we're going to do it in sections or whether at the end, but there will be a spoiler cast episode of Alternate Reality where we really break down what happened in The Boys Season 2. But without giving too much away, how are you guys finding this? We'll start with you, Hebrew.
Yeah, so for me, I love it for the same reason that you do. It's such a cynical and realistic, honestly, take on what this kind of superhero culture would be in real life if it was a reality. So I love it. I think that it's fantastic, and it really makes you look at I guess it's kind of sad in a way because it has a really bleak outlook, but that's just how it would actually be. But yeah, it's so good though. I was a little worried about the second season just because the first season was so good, and I was worried about how much I was hyping up the second season in my head. I didn't want to give it unrealistic expectations or anything. But man, I loved every second of it. Honestly, I'm not gonna say but the all I'm gonna say is
Don't do it.
I'm trying. Okay, everyone that's already seen the first, never mind. I'm not gonna say it. There's great stuff. About 20 minutes into the first episode, there's a particular part that I just started laughing my ass off, and I couldn't stop for about 20 minutes. So yeah, it really had me laughing all the way through and just loving every second of it. It felt very much like the first one. Nostalgia was kicking in, so I loved it. I never read the comic book series or anything, so I don't know if that the fidelity issue. I don't know if there's a fidelity issue or if people have a problem with that, but yeah, so far absolutely loving it. Probably top 5 TV shows I've ever watched, honestly. So good. What about you, Chu?
We'll go to Piker first. How are you feeling about it, man?
So I have not watched any of season 2 yet. I just haven't had the time with family and all the craziness going on. I haven't had time to watch any of it yet. I'm now excited to kind of hearing how it's delivering for you guys, that you're really enjoying it. So I'm definitely going to be diving into it soon. But did you guys see that they did a 5-minute short movie, short film, I guess, that follows Butcher and tells a little bit of his story of what happened at the end of season 1 and leading up into season 2.
Oh, I should watch that because it does start with him away. That's all we know. So I need to watch that.
Yeah,
okay.
I haven't seen that.
Anything that has more Carl Urban, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Yes, check it out. I watched it. It was 5 minutes, but damn, was it packed! It definitely told a quick story, and I mean, it gives you all the feels, and it definitely got me jacked for the start of the new season. So check that out if you haven't heard about it, if you haven't seen it. It's floating around online. It was pretty cool.
I'm definitely gonna take a look. I didn't know that existed.
I think it's called Butcher.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go take a peek at that. After this.
That's happening the second we start recording.
Pretty much.
I've literally just written it down of before life, do this. Yeah. Look, I'm digging it, man. I'm digging it. I mean, I think they're definitely slow walking the story a little bit. Well, not the story, but the big action set pieces. I feel like there were so many more of those in the first half of season 1. But in saying that, what they're setting up and just, I guess if they're doing anything, they're really starting to show the toll of what happened during season 1 on all the characters in season 2. And I really love this because so many shows, when you get past that cliffhanger of whatever the big thing was at the end of season 1, they just move on so quickly because it's the new story arc now. Most of what happened in season 1, forget about it, right? But this, you're seeing the real effects of that on a lot of the characters, good or bad.
Yeah.
And I do love that. And the big threat that's kind of building, I'm actually kind of loving where this is going. I think I know what they're about to do, and I'm so on board, man. So
yeah, I think that I don't mind that because you're right. It definitely isn't it's a little. I don't want to say draggy because draggy is not the right word, but yeah, it's a little bit more of a slow walk, as you said, towards the big actiony stuff that we saw at the beginning or at the first season at the beginning. But yeah, I kind of I expect that out of seasons because I expect them to on the first season they have to hit you with stuff fairly quick to grip you to kind of give you a highlight of what the show's going to be about. So I like the fact that they're really taking time with character development in this second season, like kicking off, and as you said, like really kind of digging into the actual repercussions of everything that went down, and seeing how it hits home on an emotional level and how it resonates with all these characters. So good. I really can't like praise it enough.
Yeah.
So good. I'm excited.
And like I said, like those parallels as well that they're running with, like, you know, real world. Like, I mean, the commentary on obviously, you know, how dark and pervasive capitalism really is, like even in this world. Yeah, man, there's so much good stuff in here, and to see people, you know, just doing the craziest things, I'm loving it. And I think I might review bomb it at the end because there's not enough episodes, you know. That's a joke, obviously. Just because I could watch this show all the time, and because I didn't realize when we were watching season 1, I didn't realize this was Eric Kripke, which is the guy that's been the showrunner for Supernatural this whole time.
Oh, I wasn't aware either.
I didn't know that
Makes
either.
me want to watch Supernatural now.
Look, some of the episodes of Supernatural, they've done this. Like, they've done things like they had an episode where, like, there was kind of almost like a multiversey type thing where they went to an alternate reality where they met the actor versions of themselves, and they just painted themselves as the biggest dickheads and really leaned into it. Like, they've had some episodes of Supernatural which isn't all dark and broody, and Sam looking like he's always about to cry, and you know, Dean being a real stereotype of all those 80s action heroes who are all stoic and can't possibly show their emotion, but the two brothers love each other so much that at the point where you think they're going to make out at any time. In between all that, there's some really cool monster hunting X-Files beats. And then just the episodes where they decide to just go random as all get out, they're the most fun. So I actually quite enjoy Supernatural, I will say. But there are some episodes where they're just obviously appealing to the young ladies who just want to see two handsome men looking at each other, trying not to talk about their feelings.
It was probably reined in by, I think it started on like CW or something. Like, it was probably reined in pretty hard by them to make sure that it did include those story beats. So I feel like Amazon gives shows like free reign now, as does Netflix.
Well, you're about to see, without giving too much away, you're about to see one of the Supernatural actors in The Boys season 2. He's come across.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Is it a
They've
main
actually
one?
already mentioned. They've already mentioned as of now, Hebrew. They've already mentioned his superhero name in the show.
Can you tell me the letter it starts with?
The letter of that character.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you the whole thing because you've heard it in the show, and this is out there news. It's not giving anything away.
Can I guess?
Soldier Boy.
Oh, never mind. Soldier Boy. Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be Lamplighter or something.
No, Soldier Boy.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I'm excited.
Yeah, they were talking about like the first generation heroes in like World War I type thing when I'm in one scene. So
This is going to be cool.
They were mentioning him. So yeah, there's something really cool I think they're about to do. That's about as much as I can say until we get to our spoiler cast.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
summary of the story is watch it, love it, and give it a positive review, guys. If
Yeah,
you
it
think it
needs it,
deserves
for
it.
God's sakes.
It's good. Yeah.
Ugh.
How's that though? I didn't come out fast enough. Not enough content. Therefore, I'm going to review bomb something.
Can't believe
I love.
that that's a
I
thing.
I don't understand.
Like, the
that.
entitlement is crazy. I just don't understand it. Besides, they gave you 4 to start off with, basically. Like, it's not bad.
I know.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. And they gave you an episode on September 11th to distract you from one of the
from the
darker
shit show.
American days.
Yeah.
I mean, say thank you. Do you know what I mean? Crazy. This is what happens. This is a Pornhub effect. That when people feel like they're entitled to all this free stuff on demand whenever they feel like, you know, whatevs. When they can't get it, they get their ball ache.
Yeah,
they
and
don't
that's
know how
their
to
only
live with blue
recourse.
balls. They never grew up with blue balls, Mike. They don't understand it.
They don't get
They'd
it.
have to wait for that image to download very slowly over
Oh
dial-up.
my god. I could do a whole episode on
I
like the adventures of early internet. Yeah.
I still see like jokes about that in like TV shows these days, and I'm like, never. Thank God I didn't live in that era, because my God.
It feels like any show that's set in like the 90s, and they're trying to sort of, you know, show, oh, I remember that in the 90s. There's always a Blockbuster video and someone like slow loading a picture of boobs. Like that's how. I remember that. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
There's
every time.
always a blockbuster.
Like, even in American Pie and stuff like that, where like the guys are always trying to like jerk off to fucking something, and I'm just like, yeah, like I had a phone like around the time that I needed it, so it was already fine. So
Oh,
yeah,
well,
so
meanwhile,
spoiled.
we were on like Nokia's back in the day. So I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if you're watching porn on that, I mean, you're basically watching that game Snake. That was about as close as it came to it.
oh god.
All right, let's talk about the general nerdy news of the week. So Hebrew, you had Mulan, the Disney movie remake, in the news.
Yeah, so it was more of just like I didn't know that Disney Plus was doing this, but I think you had brought it up the week before or something. But they have the special pricing. So like even though if you have Disney Plus, you have to pay an additional, I think it was like $30 for Mulan in order to get that. Did any of you guys watch it?
No, my wife really wants to watch it because they are doing some limited cinema releases after all, is my understanding. So I think they've got it here. And we just we made some new friends here, and they've basically offered to babysit our kid for a night. So we may go and watch it at the cinema. But no, we also can't access Disney Plus here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they haven't released it. So, I mean, I've heard that Dubai is a little bit like Australia, that it's a very piratey town, let's say. That a lot of people, because a lot of things aren't available here, they'll just VPN and pirate, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not endorsing such behavior, of course.
Have you seen
but,
The Mandalorian then? Somehow?
I cannot confirm. Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, when I was in Australia,
Of course.
Absolutely.
I actually was in Australia when it came out. Thank God.
Okay.
Because I bought it. Was so funny. I bought as a Christmas present an Apple thing for my in-laws, and then proceeded to say, "I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to shout you Disney Plus first month. If you like it, you guys keep it." And I literally just binge watched it one night while they're all sleeping. So yeah,
No, yeah.
that's it on the slide.
Well, yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
what about Pika? Did you watch it? Because I mean, you have
Yes.
kiddos. So
Yes, I love The Mandalorian. I can't wait for season 2.
Oh no, I meant Mulan.
Bro.
Oh, Mulan.
Look
No.
how easy.
No.
Look how like everyone
No, I
else
don't
wanted
want
to talk about
Mandalorian now,
Mandalorian
too.
more than
Yeah.
Mulan.
100%.
No, I mean, I heard that I've seen the original Mulan. I
Yeah.
heard that they took out the dragon for the remake, and the dragon was like such a key part
I know,
of the
right?
original. I don't understand whose brilliant idea that was, but just crushing the joy out of that movie.
Yeah, they wanted it to be like a more like realistic. Well, it wasn't even that, so I can't even really say that. So like they wanted it to be like a slightly more down to earth version. And like a little more true to Chinese culture, but I don't know how that like wasn't allowed.
Well,
in.
more true to the original story of Mulan as well, because obviously the Disney version was very westernized and, you know, sing-song dancing, whereas this was supposed to be more like a powerful female character kicking butt.
Right, and but I think that's the thing. Like, I didn't really get from this at all. Like, I feel like they could have done so much more, and there's kind of this. Like they kind of gave her this you have special abilities and stuff like that, and like the first one wasn't really all about that. Like the first one was more about like a normal girl. Like yes, she was kind of like had that kind of like ancestral thing with like, you know, the dragon like protecting her and stuff like that, but it was more about just like a woman taking control of a situation and deciding her own fate. And it wasn't like, oh, I have special powers and stuff like that, so I can, like succeed because of that. I liked something about that, like an ordinary person like being powerful and stuff. I thought that was much more like there was much more female empowerment going on in the first one or in the animated one than there was in this one. But yeah, and I missed the music, honestly. Like the music were like the classic part. Like I thought that they were going to do it much more of like a, Aladdin situation where they still had all of those classic songs in there that were big hits, but yeah, they just went this route instead, and honestly, it was like super lackluster. It got terrible reviews from like pretty much everyone. I was not a fan at all. It felt like, honestly, like really watered down. The fighting was decent-ish. I've seen a lot of like, like kung fu like movies. Like Ip Man is one of my favorite series of all time, and
great series.
Amazing series. And so, yeah, like compared to that, like this definitely falls short in my opinion. But yeah, it just felt very like a really crappy version of what it could have been. Like you just saw potential there. And I was constantly comparing it to Aladdin in my head because I thought, besides one thing in Aladdin, I thought that Aladdin was very well done.
Was that one thing Will Smith?
I thought Will Smith did a decent job. Like, I don't blame who's going to follow up on Robin Williams.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to judge it realistically. And like, at least he had the balls to do it, because I'd be like, I'm going to turn this one down because it'll tank my career if I even just do good in it. You know what I mean? So yeah, like, fair play to him for that. But yeah, I thought that it was really good, and I loved how they did Aladdin, and it still kind of kept the majesty that made it what it was. And in this one, like, I loved Mulan originally, but I just feel like they took out stuff just to try to appease something that didn't even end up panning out to be what it was supposed to be. I guess it's a really hard thing to articulate, but yeah. So that was my take on it. Pike, what was your view on it?
So I haven't seen it, and after listening to that, I don't know that I'm rushing to my, Apple TV to pay $30 to watch this.
Definitely not worth it. Sorry, I thought that you had said that you would watch it, but yeah, like, don't pay that money.
Yeah.
It's not
I remember the original. Like, I remember watching the original.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I was actually, like, you're a good person to ask about this. Like, how do you feel about having all these new, like, movies come out, for the new Disney remake movies come out, be like all live action stuff, compared to the older ones that, like, we had kind of grown up with? Do you want your kids to, like, which one would you rather your kids really take in?
So that's a good question. I firmly believe not every movie needs to be remade, or especially remade in live action. One of the movies that, my son loves the most is the original Land Before Times that were, animated whenever I was a kid. He doesn't care that it's not done in, all digital and gorgeous graphics. Like, he just loves dinosaurs, and that movie has animated dinosaurs. So, it's not a situation where I think, kids really care that it's new. It's going back to, capitalism. It's a way when you run out of fresh ideas to slap, some lipstick on something and, turn a quick buck. Now, I will say Aladdin, I really enjoyed the remake of that, because I think that they did something fresh and they brought something new and relevant to the story that they were trying to tell. But I think a lot of times that is more rare than it is common. But that's kind of, my view. What about you, Chu?
Yeah, look, it's hard. I mean, you talk about the review tanking as well on this one, that, I just don't trust reviews in 2020, because this one in particular was never going to do well in a year when a virus originated in China. Let's face it. It was always going to struggle in that year. Now, obviously, there's some claims about where they filmed this being very close to, kind of a very modern atrocity happening over in China. Ignoring all of that, there is one thing here that I would love to see repeated. I think the pricing's too high, but as a parent, Piker, I'm hoping you might be with me on this one. I want to have the option of, instead of paying my $20 to go to a movie, let me pay my $20 to watch the movie at home. Like, when a movie first comes out, like, I can't just go to a movie anymore. Like, we're expats living overseas. We don't have family that can just take the kid for a night. If you tell me that I can get on day one that it comes out, so I don't get spoilers, I can have Black Widow on my lounge room, I will pay $20 for that. Like, a lot of people are pooping on, you have to buy for the early access. No, as a parent, I want this so badly that I would be much, much, much more willing to have a subscription service like Disney if it means that having that platform means I can do that instead.
Oh, 100%.
I think they're going to make more money out of it too, because they're not having to pay for the distribution. They're not having to pay for a lot of those other things that come along with, profit sharing with AMC or the big movie groups. So a lot of people are saying this is a negative thing, but I mean, let's face it, you would have spent that money at the movies anyway. I mean, hell, if you wanted to buy popcorn on top of that, you might as well triple the price. So yeah, I'm all about that as being a thing now.
Yeah.
Of, let's make this happen, especially for families, Piker.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so I can say from experience, we bought Scoob from, I think, Amazon whenever it came out as like a digital release. And we did the animated remake of The Addams Family. So, those were two circumstances like in the last 6 months or so where like we as a family like spent the extra money for the digital movie to, sort of have that theater experience at home in a, current climate that we live in.
Oh, because let's face it, I mean, with COVID and everything, I mean, a lot more people are going for the let's just, get the nicer TV and stay at home, make that one-time investment, then we'll just watch everything in our place. And more of the better content's coming to TV. And with COVID, man, like I generally wonder like whether these multi-million-dollar careers of global superstars continues, because the longer this drags out, like I think it's going to evolve a lot of industries, including cinema. Like, I think that a lot of those things are going to have to change to keep up with what people are willing to spend money on going forward.
I couldn't agree more.
Realizing that, hey, we've been wasting a lot of money on, travel when we could have just had Zoom or whatever. So, yeah, man. There's a lot about Mulan, which obviously sounds like it's not great, but there is some things that's come out about it, which I really dig.
Yeah, I think if it was a more reasonable price, I would be okay with it. But I think $30 that's more.
Well, in the US, if you took your girlfriend right now to the movies, if you could, I mean, obviously you probably can't, but if you could, what would that cost you before food? Like just the 2 tickets?
$14.
Yeah.
Total,
yeah.
Okay. Well, see, I think the price of a couple going to the movie should be about the ballpark.
Yeah.
So if it's $14, I think $14.
Yeah, I think like $10-15 is what I would do. I would maybe even do 20, but I will not 30. This was a one-time thing for science because I wanted to see how bad this was going to be. Okay. But $30 is so much. Like that's not going to be a regular thing at all. And I feel like that is like borderline exploity. So,
okay, I'll say this. Keep in mind that this is a family movie, meant, a little bit for kids. And, most of the time, if you're looking at a family going to the movie theater, it's going to be, husband and wife and 2 kids sort of situation. True. So you take and you square your $14 and it then looks a little bit more reasonable at that price point.
I don't want to set that standard though, because that's not always going to, because that's not always going to be the situation.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And so I don't think that it's fair to base it off of that. But I think like I just don't think I should be paying more money than it would be to buy the movie. You know what I mean? Like when it came out, like I would be like the movie would be max $20. Or if I wanted to rent it would be $5. And so like spending
this
30
definitely
is
feels
absurd.
like an experiment. It definitely feels like an
it
experiment.
100% is. That's why I don't want to set the standard for it of $30.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And a company trying to claw back just massive losses for 2020. Because they've had to put so many things back.
Yes.
We're already seeing now that like, it's not Disney, I know, but even Wonder Woman, which is supposed to come out again this month. I think the 3rd delay it already had is now being delayed again a 4th time to December 3rd, I think it is.
Yeah.
No, sorry, it's December 25th. It's Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Is when they've actually pushed it back to.
Yeah, they really wanted a this year release, so...
Well, yeah. So, look, who knows, man? COVID doing a number on the world, that's for sure. Speaking of which, with COVID in America, of course, one of the things that's kept you guys afloat is they have these government loans for small businesses. And there's been a lot of controversy about like major people, major companies taking that money like Shake Shack and then like taking millions of dollars while small businesses couldn't get it. So that's crept into sort of the nerdy sphere as well, that we've seen some big YouTube creators busted this week, some of the multi-million-dollar creators taking those loans and being exposed for taking money away. Yeah. So you have anyone from like, this big makeup trend on YouTube. I don't think I understand it.
Yeah.
Like all these dudes that have like makeup lines and try and, I guess, make themselves up to look like ladies. And it's like, well, if that can make those dudes look like that, geez, it must be great makeup. I'm going to buy this. A lot of those ones have been wrapped up in it, like Jeffree Star, Mr. Beast, who is a various creator, that sort of thing. So, yeah, that's kind of creeping into our sphere, that a lot of those people are taking a lot of cash from the government that they perhaps shouldn't have, being that they're making, 30, 40, $50 million in some cases, or 18, I think, was the figure for Jeffree Star.
Yeah, I mean, that's absurd to me. That's like one of the greediest moves I've ever seen, honestly. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not much to be said there other than that's bad.
While 2020 has been a rough year for a lot of us, I tell you one guy that I would have loved to have been this year is Ninja, one of the biggest Twitch streamers in the world. Have you been following this guy this year?
No, I haven't been following this year, but I do like him. I used to watch him a bit back in the day.
So he was one of the biggest streamers on the platform of Twitch. And then he basically said, all right, I'm not getting looked after here. And Microsoft reached out, and when they were trying to get Mixer to be a thing, they paid him an absurd amount of money to go over to them. And then when that closed down because it was a failed experiment, they just said, okay, take your full contract because it's our fault it didn't work out, and you're welcome to leave. No strings attached. Instant payout. I think it was like 30 million or some absurd amount of money, right?
Wow.
What?
So then he's free on the market. And now he's just signed again a multi-year exclusive deal with Twitch for an undisclosed amount of money that I can only assume is equally ludicrous because they really want to lock him down because there's been a lot of other big names that are now pivoting to YouTube away from Twitch. It's been a hell of a year for this guy, man. And just shows how some of these guys at the top of the platforms are just crushing it. And just the amount of money that can be had from YouTube or from Twitch is astounding.
I just don't think that there should be that much money in this kind of work. Like, I think that amount of money is absolutely insane to get from streaming a game. I don't know if that's like wrong of me to say, but I just think like logically, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't know. I get it. It's entertainment and everything. Like, I mean, I'm in it. Like, I do it, but it's just, I don't think that there should be that much money in it. You know what I mean? Getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars a year in that. I mean, but granted, I'm also the same on like actors, like receiving that much. I think it's insane. So I don't know, but I guess good for him. But yeah, that's nuts. I don't get it. Not surprised that he does it though, or that he did it. Sign that deal.
Oh look,
I would do that.
As someone that earns like double figures, and I mean like in the tens of dollars as a streamer every month, it's not the same for everyone.
Yeah. It's just the fact that that's out there as a dream for people that are doing this. Like,
it's so unachievable though. Like algorithms now are designed to just bury the little guys, like ourselves, and that's okay. Like not everyone's going to be big and famous or whatever. You know, we're not going to get to that sort of level, but yeah, it's interesting to see how some people can climb to the top and be that guy. Like everyone needs a Michael Jordan, and then everyone needs the Washington Generals that just get destroyed by the.
It's so interesting that you brought this up because we talked about being a dad and a lot this episode. It kind of has me thinking. My son watches a little bit of YouTube Kids, and on YouTube Kids there are streamers, and there's one that's like I think he's like 13. Ethan Gamer TV, and my son just loves watching him specifically and wants to like play all of the games that he's playing. And so it gets rather annoying sometimes because he just wants to watch Ethan Gamer TV. But then you start thinking about it from this corporate model and how really this how companies are going to be gaining consumers in the future is really changing. This whole streamer mentality and viewing games and watching other people playing and the money involved.
Influencer
it's all,
stuff.
It's crazy how it's changing, and it's crazy how young it all starts. I mean, this kid is 13. He's got all of these, endorsement deals with games and, contracts with different producers. He's got, a clothing line. He's got all of these things.
Jesus
and the kid is
Christ.
13 and just raking in money as a streamer.
That's so nuts, dude. I can't, that's the thing. I just can't fathom it. Like, my understanding on it is just, I can't imagine being that young and having that much shoved in your face of success and money and pressure. Nuts. It's like next level child actor. You know what I mean?
Oh, it really is. I mean, every birthday party, there's the pictures on Instagram so all the fans can follow along. I mean, it gets a little weird at a certain level also.
Yeah. I could easily imagine that. Like, I don't know. It's a weird culture we're going into.
It really is.
I'm glad I'm the age that I am, because I don't think I'd want to be much younger, because I feel like it'd just be a weird time.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love someone to give me millions of dollars that I experience this problem and report back on what that experience is like, guys. But,
Yeah, let us know what you think.
I don't think it's going to pan out somehow. But speaking of weird corporate culture, you were pretty pissed off at EA this week, Hebrew.
I am, dude. Like, so someone told me about this on our Discord. They put out a notice on it. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is actually a thing. So EA, which is known to be like the asshole of gaming companies, was their first big thing was what was it? Or not their first, but like probably one of the most well-known blunders that they did was for Battlefront 2 with the microtransactions, the boxes.
In modern times, yeah. I mean, they've been predatory and like eating like some of our favorite gaming companies for years.
Oh,
I mean, I'm still mad at them for what they did to Westwood Studios, who developed the Command and Conquer series.
Yeah, and BioWare just made a lot of claims against them too after they were swallowed by them. So they're being way too controlling, which I could see given their past and now given what happened since. But yeah, so like their big things recently was the microtransaction, like the box issues, progression issues, paywalls, and now in EA, the new UFC game, they sent out the game to everyone to test play, give their early reviews and everything like that, and then whenever the game launched, they put a patch in that put in advertising within the game. And just told people to fucking deal with it. Like,
yeah, because it was advertising UFC events, wasn't it? Like it was saying, hey, this weekend, make sure you buy the pay-per-view.
Well, I mean, some of it might have been that, but a lot of it was just advertising The Boys season 2.
Yeah, it was Amazon ads.
Yeah, it was like
I didn't realize it went that far.
Yeah,
oh, shit.
It was straight up ads that would pop up on your screen in between each like playback of the fight, and it would pop up and like zoom in and zoom back out. It was the most bullshit thing I've ever seen in my life. I can't get over the fact that they were so ballsy to even do that.
It was ballsy AF.
Yeah, like that's the thing that it honestly scares me because it's like they knew that people would get upset. I can't imagine the amount of money they got out of it from like, and they'll just probably be like, oh, sorry. All right. We'll take it back now. Cause it flew up to the top of Reddit in like 0 time. It was crazy.
Well, because it's EA too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is definitely the supervillain of video games. Like everyone loves to hate EA, and look, rightly so in many, many cases.
but yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. It's just like they knew that this was going to happen, that they were going to get this much backlash, but they did it anyways because they were like, we don't care. We know you're going to buy our shit. Like we have so much shit that we control. Like you're going to end up buying something we have. So it's the fact that they know they have that much power and do this stuff anyways that really freaks me out. So yeah, I couldn't believe that they did that. It honestly shocked and infuriated me.
I could very much believe that they did that. It is EA.
It blows my mind. I'll never be able to say anything other than like it's crazy and it blows my mind. I just don't understand how they did it. I feel like there needs to be like regulations on this kind of stuff. Like that's crazy. That should not happen. You pay $60 for a game, and slyly putting it in after all the reviews hit, so that way they know people, because they knew people were going to be like, oh, don't buy this game. So they waited until everyone was like, buy this game, it's awesome, and then threw it.
Well, especially with the advertising laws to children as well. Like, I mean, the things that we have to jump through on YouTube as tiny creators like we are, to say, okay, no, this is safe for kids, or no, it's not. You have to be so careful because there's all these new CAPA guidelines. You have to really say, okay, this is fine for kids to be exposed to. I mean, if they're exposing the boys to children, I mean, advertising that show, don't get me wrong, love the show, love the universe. Would I let my daughter, if she was 10 or 11, be exposed to that show? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, no way.
So yeah, it depends on what they're going to advertise in there. You know what I mean? So I thought they were just advertising UFC pay-per-views, but that's crazy.
Yeah, just like straight up actual ads. Ugh.
Pico, are you a Frank Herbert Dune fan?
I have no idea what that is.
What? Dune, Dune.
Oh, Dune, not June. So I did see.
God, this racism towards my accent. I'm just, so tired of it.
It's gonna get more and more obvious as the show goes
Sorry, I need to speak American. Yeah, I'm talking about Dune.
Dune,
Yes,
bro.
thank you. That's better. Thank you. I saw the trailer for this movie and it took me a minute for my brain to adjust to what I was watching. And then I was like, this looks fucking awesome. Like, what is the deal with this? The cast in that movie looks insane. Yep. I'm really excited for this movie. I mean, if you haven't seen the trailer, you got to check it out. It's like a sci-fi Game of Thrones meets I don't even know what, set in the future with a ton of actors I love. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, this movie is. I mean, like, it's from a famous novel, and it is insanely good. I mean, Chu, have any of you guys ever read the book? I guess first off.
Read the book, watched the movie, watched the miniseries, watched the second miniseries, played all the games.
Way more
this
than
universe is amazing. This universe is amazing.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool. Like the whole, because it's a galactic sort of spanning universe. Yeah. Like, you have these three major houses that kind of control this particular region of space, and it's all about this thing called spice. Which is like the main thing of trade. So if you have spice, you control the thing. And Arrakis, which this whole storyline plays out on, and two of the houses warring. It is very Game of Thrones and predates Game of Thrones by decades.
Yeah,
like so much of what you guys love in modern pop culture shows like Game of Thrones, I promise you have beats and influences from Frank Herbert in Dune. Or Dune, as you jackasses would say.
I'm probably going to read this novel then.
Awesome.
Read it.
Yeah. I honestly, I mean, I know a lot of people go, oh, well, look, the book was better, but I think as a reference point, I think this is one of those books that if you are a nerd, man, and you're not the biggest of readers, like get an audio book or something, because it's just one of those stories.
The books are always better to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Dune 2000, which was like a Command and Conquer style game. Do you remember Gimli from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually in like the CGI scenes. He was one of the actors in that game. So was it John Rhys Davies, or I can't remember what the guy's name is, but something like that. But honestly, man, I'm so amped. It feels like they're gonna really, really paint a love letter to this book and that series. And there's a lot of like shot for shot throwbacks to the original movie as well. Like if you have a look, you can go and have a look at the side-by-side trailer of like, if you did the trailer for that then with the trailer for it now, like there are some things that they've definitely Star Wars this, where it's just like, okay, we're just going to straight up take that from the movie version that was already out, because people love that. Because that has a cult following, the original movie.
Yeah, and I think like Dune is one of those things, like anything, like it's things by H.P. Lovecraft and like Dune, those are like foundation builders in all of sci-fi. You know what I mean? Like people always list those two things as references. So yeah, like it's massive that this is coming out. I read the books, but that's it. I was expecting like maybe one of you guys to have read the book. Chew, I had no idea that you had done all of it. So,
oh yeah, well, when I was younger, because of course, we didn't have games like we do now, man. Back in my day, like books was all I had. Like that was my escapism. Like I used to consume books like it was air. I loved reading, especially sci-fi. When I discovered sci-fi books, that was it. The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and Dune was just one of those books that you kind of had to have read. And then like the original like Dune RPG, like you boys should definitely look at old gameplay of the original like Dune RPG way back when. Like it is ancient, that game.
Yeah.
We used to play that on like my mate's dad's very crappy computer back in the day. So yeah, I've got a strong attachment to this series, and the fact that it looks like they're really going to do it justice makes me happy.
Yeah.
Speaking of Lovecraft, I know it's not in the show notes, but have you guys watched any of that is it
series?
Lovecraft County or Lovecraft Country? What's it called? Lovecraft Country?
I know what you're talking about. I think it's called like I don't remember which one it's called, but it's like Lovecraft Country or something like that. Lovecraft Country. It's on like HBO or something, or Showtime.
Yeah, I want to know if it's good, because anything Lovecraft, same
I've
thing.
been meaning to circle back to it. I want to watch it. It looks cool.
Yeah, I just haven't given it a go yet, but I anything Lovecraft, like I do. That was like one of the things, like my dad made me a lot of the Michael Crichton books. Like he made me read a lot of the Michael Crichton books, and he made me read Dune, and he made me read a couple of H.P. Lovecraft books. So like those are like the big things that I knew like were big influencers. And so I'm really excited for this movie. I will say, I just want to quickly go through some of the cast on this because this is insane.
Sure.
So Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, which was Poe from Star Wars. I think his name was Poe, right? Really good actor. Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista, Skarsgård, and Brolin. Like, just to name a few. You'll notice, you'll recognize other people as well in there. But like, I can't even imagine how much money is going to be pumped into this movie in order to get all of them together. First off, it's like it's basically going to be like Avenger money. That's like super fuck you money. So I am very, very excited to see what they do with it. Susan Sarandon's in it too. Wow. Yeah,
I was reading. It's like a multi-international film. Like there's like 4 or 5 countries that are all involved in the production of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not surprised, but I'm also very worried to make sure that they do it right. I hope that they do, because I'm sure a lot of people, that probably like this means a lot more to them than it does to me. But like, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of eyes on this to see how it does, to make sure that it's done right, especially with this much money in this day and age with this many big name actors. So I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on the director there. Also, did you hear about the Jihad versus Crusade thing?
No.
So in the book, they called it a jihad, and now they're calling it a crusade. And apparently that's caused like a little bit of a, what was it, rebel rousal or whatever it's called, like a little bit of a fight amongst fans on the internet.
People are choosing to take offense to things like this.
Yes, exactly. And there's so many people that said like, no, it's like literally the same exact thing. And they even mentioned that like a crusade a couple times in the book, apparently. I don't remember the specifics of that. But yeah, so some people are taking a lot of offense to that and say it's like whitewashing and stuff like that. I'm like, crusades were terrible too. Like, don't forget how terrible they were. So yeah, it's just a little pretty funny thing that's going on with the movie as well.
Absolutely. If you want to play a Lovecraftian game, just going back a beat as well, probably the closest thing I ever found to a really good Lovecraftian, mystery kind of game. It was just a shame the gameplay kind of sucked a bit towards the end. Secret World was an MMO that was released a few years back, and then now they've released it again as Secret World Legends. Really fun. Really fun and heavy Lovecraftian. It's just a shame that the core gameplay mechanics were not great. But if you play the first probably 20 minutes of it, it's easy to get hooked on the story, for sure.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I might have to give that one a go.
Yeah, all right. Gaming news, folks. The Xbox X and S have finally been revealed. We have price points. We have specs. The difference between those consoles are massive.
Yeah. I mean...
have you had a look at the differences between, Hebrew?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you go into it, but yes, and I will say that although I am upset about some of it, I do understand it because the price point difference reflects it. You know what I mean? Because there's a pretty substantial price difference in between them, and for what you lose, like I'm a little bit upset that you lose more than I was willing to, like 4K being the biggest thing, but it's a pretty substantial price step in between. So I think it's okay. I have theories as to why, but I wasn't sure. Do you want to go through like the laundry list of, or it's not really too much of a laundry list, but the differences between the two?
Well, I think like right out of the gate, I mean, that's the big one right there.
Yeah.
The fact that this new like cut down version doesn't even have 4K is mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
Like this pretty much feels for, do you want the gaming experience that you've kind of already got, but with some, new trailers, some new games to play from the new series, for the new console, then get this one. Like you missed out on this generation, we're going to give you an in-between model. And I guess that's okay for people that don't want to spend the money on the big one. But to not even have 4K, considering like 4K has been like the minimum on the Pro and the was it Xbox One X or whatever the names are with that one.
Yeah,
the Xbox is confusing as fuck.
It really is. The naming scheme there is absurd.
But to cut that out to me is huge, especially because not only that, they're going to like HDMI 2.1 for a lot of the new get-ups. So you've got like faster connection speeds, you've got like better frame rates. And, you know, when they're boasting about things potentially being, you know, 120 frames in 4K on PS5 and the top-end model of the Xbox to really get the most out of this next generation, I just don't really see the point. Like for me, I'd probably just buy the existing Xboxes, which are just, their pricing are falling through the roof if I was going to buy one of those rather than get this thing. Except for the fact that obviously they'll stop making games for the old ones eventually, we think. I mean, it's hard to know whether that'll be the case because so many games coming out for the next year or two will probably still function on the existing ecosystem.
Yeah, I think there's going to be just a bit of an overlap period. There usually is, so I'm not too surprised with that.
Yeah, because you were saying you're thinking about getting an Xbox as well down the line. Are you still going to do that after our chat yesterday?
I don't know. Maybe not because of our discussion where I might as well just get a PC instead of a Xbox. But I do like I do like console gaming more than PC gaming though is the issue. So I might still get one. I'm not sure, but. Yeah, I mean, so just to kind of give like a little bit more context in the differences, that is the biggest one by far. Like the 4K difference is big. There's a tiny difference in the CPU, a tiny difference in the GPU, tiny difference in the memory, and a tiny difference, well, not a tiny difference, it's a decent bit of a difference in the internal storage as well. But the biggest thing is definitely the visual performance, where it's targeting 1440p at 60 frames per second and up to 120 frames per second. Whereas Xbox Series X is obviously 4K. So, I mean, I imagine the kind of scheme they're going for here is they know that TVs fairly soon, like within the next 2-3 years or so, they're pretty much going to all start to be really lowering the price of 4K TVs, and that's going to be kind of the standard again. Then it'll still just have the difference of OLED and stuff like that probably. But 4K is going to be pretty common now in most TVs fairly soon. But there's still a lot of people right now that don't have 4K. So they're capitalizing off of that where they're going to have, parents that want to buy it for their kids or whatever and don't really know the difference or care about the difference. And they're like, oh, I'll get the $300 one. And it'll be okay for now because a lot of people won't be able to tell the difference. But it's... I imagine they eventually want to release the Xbox S2 or whatever it's going to be. Yeah. Where then they have the upgraded 4K version because you want to play in 4K.
Probably 8K upscaling too. I think that's what that second one will have.
Yeah. Well, I guess probably the S will move up to, the next version of the S will probably move up to 4K. The next version of the X will probably move up to 8K. I bet.
Now, the one thing I need to double check this. Does both models have the SSD? I have a feeling it's only the top one.
Let me see. All right. So 1 terabyte custom NVMe SSD with 2.4 gigabyte. That's for X. 512 gigabyte custom NVMe with SSD with 2.4. So yeah.
Okay. So it does. Yeah. Okay. Because that's one of the big draws is that, I mean, Avengers especially has one of the longest loading screens I've had to sit through in a long time. God. And there's a lot of them.
It's brutal.
So anything that's going to get rid of that, and these SSDs, like the PS5 especially, they're promising like a no loading screen experience.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that makes me wonder, okay, let's take a game like Avengers. Let's say I'm sitting in that game on my PS5 or my new Xbox with my SSD. I load instantly, but my friends are still playing on PS4. I still have to wait for them anyway. So I'm worried about multiplayer experiences that are cross-console or cross-gen right now because you might actually have, in some games, no real difference in the gaming experience other than visually, of course, thanks to the SSD because you're held back by your friends on old tech.
Yeah. You're not wrong like that. Because of all this crossplay that's going to be going on now, you were probably going to be seeing that. So that's just kind of...
great problem to have. Like, I want crossplay to be a thing. I mean, I want to be able to play with you from my PC or from my PS5, whatever. Like, I want to be able to play games with you boys from anywhere. And I think we need to lean into it. So, price points are established. It is good that they have a cheaper option available. But for me, I mean, next gen is next gen. I'm always going to go for the big boy with the bells and whistles.
Oh, yeah.
And we're about to get the announcement on the 16th of September as well, because PS5, for some reason, randomly canceled their event after hearing what Xbox was up to.
Yeah.
And on the 16th, we're going to hear about at 1 p.m. Pacific what is actually going on with the PlayStation, their pricing, etc. They got a hard decision to make because these price points are relatively inexpensive versus what we expected.
Yeah.
And Xbox has the massive big dick swinging of Game Pass.
Yes.
Like, Game Pass is just, I feel like I'm going to say this every week that this podcast exists. Game Pass is fucking amazing. You pay your $10 to $15 a month, depending on where in the world you are, and the quality and caliber of games that you're getting out of Microsoft on PC or Xbox for no extra money per month on top of that sub are just great.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the exclusivity deals that they're getting in there now, they've partnered up with EA. The wording on this is quite strange, but you know the Origin and the Prime subscription you can get with EA?
No, I don't.
So you can basically get the entire back catalog of EA games for like a monthly to annual subscription. And then what happens is with that subscription is that any EA game that releases, you get it as part of that. So it quite often works out the price of one full retail game. I did it with Anthem, for example. I bought Origin instead on a 12-month subscription, and then I got Origin for no extra money. And that basically meant that, I can play all the EA stuff whenever. So that's always been good. But it sounds like Microsoft has just gone, hey, boys, just bring it over here.
Yeah.
Just do it with us. And if they get all of EA's games included in there as well now, dude. Like, can you imagine a world where you don't have to pay any more money to EA? You just get to play it through your Game Pass as well? Like, what does Sony do to keep up with that? Because all they've got is the exclusive titles. And that is a big dick as well, right?
Yeah,
Because
it
you
is.
do have Horizon, God of War. You have, what's over there as well? Gran Turismo is Sony. I'm missing a lot here. Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man, the, what is it called? Not Last
Last of Us.
Last of Us, thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many huge console hits from now, I'm just not remembering them right now. But so many.
Because Piker, like, I mean, we have the monthly store with PS Plus. Like, we get our free games every month. But,
Right.
I mean, the offering's not the same, right?
No, it's not even close. I mean, I've always been a PlayStation guy and not an Xbox guy, and I don't have a PC, so I don't know as much about the experience and what Game Pass provides you on like the Microsoft side, but I can only imagine it's nowhere close to what we have with like the PS Plus.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, you're right.
Yeah, and I was going to say also the pricing point that they put out for it as far as the payment plan that they're working it makes it very good. It's like $35 for the Xbox Series X a month for 2 years, or $25 with the Xbox Series S for the same deal. That's for everything. So yeah, really, really good deal. There's lots of companies that are hopping on board that payment plan thing. GameStop's looking at it. I'm sure GameStop's going to do it because let's face it, like, they'll do anything for money at this point.
They have to.
Very much the prostitute of the gaming industry right now. But yeah, so very, very cool. Like, I'm excited about it. But yeah, it puts PlayStation at a particularly interesting spot because they just don't have that infrastructure. The closest thing we have to it in the PlayStation is, as you said, is the PS Plus, where we get a couple of game options every month, which certainly isn't bad. But you also still have to pay. You have to be on the internet. Like, you have to pay for the internet package for PlayStation in order to get that anyway. So that's actually an additional cost. But yeah, that's just like the only thing. So even if they partnered that in with it, even if they paired that in, like, they're still going to have to drastically reduce the price of the console, or they're going to have to really up the game and create like a whole new gameplay system, like similar to what they did with the Game Pass, which is going to be a hell of a thing to do in such a short amount of time. So I honestly don't know what they're going to do. Like path of easiest resistance here would definitely be reducing the price of the console, taking the hit, and trying to bring in people like that. Otherwise, they're going to lose the console war hands down. So,
and here's the thing as well, like there's another part of that ecosystem that people really aren't talking about much because it's still very much in that kind of late beta-ish kind of feel phase, which is this whole like streaming apparatus that they've got at the moment. So, for example, one of the guys that we talk to a lot in one of our podcasts, he's already bought a brand new mobile phone because he's like, man, if I get this new part that links in with my Microsoft accounts, it means that I can play the new Halo with a controller through my phone, you know, using the streaming platform. So, like, they've got so much built into that ecosystem at Microsoft that it's really hard to go, man, like, there are games that I'm going to get the PS5 because I want those exclusive games. But they're all single-player experiences, so they're one-and-dones. And then obviously because I have that console and most of my friends have PlayStations at the moment, like I'm just getting that because that's where I can play with them. But in all honesty, like most of everything else I do will be on PC because I can do my Game Pass there as well. I think it's great for me because it means I don't have to buy an Xbox to get all of these amazing benefits just for my existing PC where I can play everything that only releases on PC anyway. I can then also do all of this. And as I said, just the caliber of games. Like, I mean, in the last year alone, I think in the first month when it came out, right? In the first month where you get your free trial or whatever, I think I played Gears of War 4, Gears 5, Outer Worlds, Outer Wilds, right? Four of the biggest games over that last 12 months, and I didn't pay a cent for them. And the next month they said, do you want to continue for $10? And I went, heck yes, I want to continue for $10.
Yeah,
and then since then I played Gears. Oh, mate, I've played Gears Tactics. I went back through the Alan Wake series. God, what else have I played? I mean, Wasteland 3. Like, just so many games are in this thing. I mean, hell, if you're into Goat Simulator, it's there for free. We've got, you know, all the Halos, the Halo Wars series, Hellblade. Like, there are so many great games in the subscription service that it makes me question... and I've cancelled, actually, a lot of other things that I was signed up to because they're just not even close to the value that this gives. So I think PS Plus, Sony really needs to pull their finger out of their ass or they're going to have to drop the price on these consoles so badly that they're going to take a hit. But industry experts basically say that the way Sony have built their kit, it's a lot more expensive for them to make that hardware than it has been for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Which means that their ability to get under that price point was already unlikely.
Yeah. Well, I love the, honestly, like, this is more of the petty side, but I think it's just so funny. Like, I love the big dick move that Xbox did pull out because they knew that was obviously the day that PlayStation was going to announce its, you know, like, do its full announcement of the price points and everything like that for it. They knew it, and purposely before the time set for the launch of it, they released everything that they had because they wanted to basically be like, yeah, we know what you're going to do and we don't care because we know that you'll never be able to beat it. And so they just put their dick on the table and said, deal with it. And then PlayStation just didn't say anything. Silence.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, God. and it took them days to come out and just like they ignored the fact that it happened. And we're just like, we're doing it on this day. And just like never addressed it at all. So I love the move there. So, and they're right. Like Xbox is going to have the upper hand here. So for all of those reasons that you stated, I'm super excited to see what happens. And I can't wait to see how PlayStation goes, because either way it's good value for me. Like I'm one way or another I'm going to be getting something more out of PlayStation now than I was going to get if Xbox didn't. You know what I mean?
Hopefully. I mean, we don't know yet, right?
I'm imagining if they didn't, then that's a terribly dumb move by them. So
Well, and it's interesting listening to you guys talk about this because, like, obviously I really wasn't considering getting an Xbox, so I really wasn't looking too much into the specs or anything like that. But I saw a picture of the Xbox, and I remember what the PS5 looks like. I'm like, wow, is that thing freaking ugly? Like, for me, it was all aesthetic. I was like, what the hell is this thing that looks like a speaker this Xbox thing. So I was curious, like, what do you guys think, like, aesthetically of the look of the Xbox and versely the PS5?
G, do you want to go first on this or me?
Oh, look, I mean, they're all pretty ugly and massive, to be honest. Like, I mean, they're just here for the purpose. I mean, they're computers now. I mean, let's just.
I thought you were describing penises.
Well, I mean,
too.
when am I not? But speaking of that, though, one of the hilarious things for me is that someone, once they saw what the final look of the Xbox was, someone went back and looked at all the press conferences one of the senior Microsoft guys had done. And in the back of all of his Zooms this year, that ballsy prick had both of the Xboxes sitting on his fucking shelf. And he split them up so they weren't together, and he just put them in between books, and they looked like speakers. So no one picked up on the fact that this guy for an entire year has been showing you what those consoles look like. I found that amazing. That guy got plus 10 points to Gryffindor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that was really good. I just, as far as the aesthetics are concerned, I think that I don't particularly love the way that the PlayStation looks. I think that I don't think it's bad, but I think that it can be a bit gaudy, is how our good buddy Muggin put it. And I do kind of agree with that. I think that it's definitely out there. But there was zero effort put in the Xbox team. I just want to know, like, how much money they dedicated to R&D to get that box looking the way it is. And then, like, you know, it's just some guy came in there and fucking Jenkins didn't do his homework that day.
Drew a fucking rectangle.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
just it's like, all right. Yeah, it's like, your turn. What did you come up with? I got this box. He just puts a cardboard box out there. Then he used a marker and covered black. Oh, that's brilliant, Jenkins. Great job. And
controversial take, though. I think Jenkins nailed it because, I mean, for me, they're PCs now. So, I mean, I want them to be a box or a rectangle so that they can be under desk or, in a shelf. I don't want it to be these weird angles that they have to stand a certain way. And if they don't, then that limits, where you can actually put it on the top of your TV stand or your computer desk or wherever it is that you're putting this thing. Like, that's where we're at. Like, we're at the point now where I don't give a shit what they look like as long as they've got the hardware. For me, it's going to be, I hope, like the PS4 Pro, it just doesn't run at like 10,000 degrees Celsius. It's like Avengers is pushing the crap out of the PS consoles.
Same.
Like, it is really stressing them, and they are getting so hot and so loud that my Alienware computer is looking at it, going, "Are you okay, bro?" Like, they're really wheezing on those things. So, I mean, these new ones, I can only imagine, like the ventilation systems and that. Like, I'd much prefer they build something that's smartly designed on the inside rather than trying to make something look pretty, only for you to find out that the vent is in such a dickhead position that it actually like loops heat back onto its own sinks and then shits itself, because we've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less what they look like for me.
I'm all about the looking pretty. I want it to look like a mothership like descended into my living room, and I want
the graphics guy wants it to to look pretty. What a
exactly.
surprise.
I mean, I'm with him on that. Man. Like, I just want some effort to be put in. I just feel like a box is just a box, and it's so big. It's such a big box too, which I get. There's hardware in it, but it's so I don't think it's going to look good and not even fit in a lot of cases. In people's shelving units that they have set up for it. So yeah, I mean, I know both of them can be put landscape and vertical. So like, I'm not too worried about that, but. And hopefully, yes, they did put the vents in the right spot. It looks like they did, but we'll never know for sure until we get it in our hands, I guess, and we see how it runs. But because mine very much is starting to sound like the little PlayStation that could. But yeah, I think like the aesthetics, I think PlayStation, even though it looks like the meme for the PlayStation is a collar, I think. It looks like a button-up collar.
It looks like a Wi-Fi router. It looks like a lot of the modern Wi-Fi routers is the main one I've seen.
I'll show you this one in a second. But anyways, yeah, so I'm definitely, like, I'm a little more excited for the PlayStation and the way it looks. But since I'm probably going to end up getting both of them anyways, regardless of if I get a PC or not, yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what the next move is going to be by PS5. the most excited I've been for a console announcement in a long, long time.
Yeah. It's going to be a big one. So, yeah, man, I think we're going to be talking about a lot in next week's podcast, as well as everything from PAX Online, because obviously PAX West is not happening this year. So it's already on September 12th to September 20, one of the biggest gaming expos of the year normally. But obviously with COVID, that's all shifted online. So I think we're going to have a lot of news to unpack from that this week. We've already seen one of the big presentations coming out of Ubisoft. So we just snuck that in time for the show notes because this is being recorded on September the 13th. So do you guys play Borderlands 3?
I
did
haven't,
not.
and I've played it a bit, but not as much as I should have.
Yeah, I did not. No, I didn't play it at all.
So I really dug it. I mean, I think I like Borderlands 2. I mean, all the Borderlands 2 releases because there was a lot. I think it felt better to me in a lot of ways, but the gunplay was obviously pretty great in Borderlands 3. So there's a lot to love about it, and they've been releasing a lot of content, like the DLC came out this week, which was Psycho Krieg and the Fantastic Fustercluck, which is pretty good. But you gotta be careful with that one. So look, I mean, I've always loved that sense of humor. Like even that title, I'm like, that kind of makes me want to revisit that world.
Yeah.
So Gearbox basically came out. Then what they're gonna be doing is having a free upgrade to next gen. So if you're already owning this on console, you're gonna get it on the next one. Crossplay looks like it's gonna be a thing for Borderlands 3 as well, which is massive. That's a really big deal. I can't stress that enough, and that makes me excited. And a really big expansion. So there's 3 skill trees already per character that have very, very different builds, especially for the stealthy type tunes. The fact that they're adding in a 4th skill tree, I think is really going to make that game feel fresh. And because it's almost like adding 4 new characters if you're just assuming it's just the base guys from the start, let alone the downloadable DLC characters. So I'm curious to see if that 4th skill tree is going to be for all existing and upcoming characters or only for like the original tunes. But either way, I think that's awesome. The amount of content they're real pumping still into Borderlands 3 all these months down the track.
Yeah. I definitely, it makes me want to get in, honestly, after like the stint with the Avengers too, it makes me want to get into it even more so. Just because I know that game was well done. I know that Borderlands 3 is well done. It's a great game series. It's very funny and all that kind of stuff. It also has a great campaign. So I really do kind of want to get back into it. And after seeing all of this news that's going to be coming down the pipeline for them, I'm really excited. I know that a 4th skill tree is something that they've wanted for a long time. That and a new character is something that they've wanted for a long time out of the DLCs. This was the 4th DLC, the Fantastic, what was it, Fustercluck?
Think so?
Yeah, I think this is the 4th
Yeah, one
DLC.
of them was really small, so I think it's like the 3rd major.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm really excited that we're gonna get crossplay. I hope crossplay becomes just like the norm for games like these.
Yeah.
Because it really is such a stupid thing to separate an entire player base from system to system for the same exact game. It's never made too much sense for me anyways. And I think, what was it? Was it Fortnite that broke that barrier first? That went fully cross-platform, including mobile?
I think it might have been Rocket League.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, maybe it was Rocket League. But they don't have a mobile, I guess. But yeah, I guess the first one to go fully
well, actually, no. I think PUBG went there first. I think PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I think it actually went there before that because that predated. Like it was the thing that made everyone fall in love with Battle Royale game modes again. Like I think it was like one of the DayZ mods is where Battle Royale modes came from, and then PUBG, who was like PlayerUnknown was a big player over there. He designed PUBG, and there was like this international phenomenon. And then Fortnite and Epic just rolled out with Hold My Beer. And here we are now with that being one of the biggest games in the world, if not the biggest game in the world, probably outside of Minecraft.
Yeah.
So, I think it was probably number one because it did come to mobile first, I believe. But it's just amazing how quickly that fell off straight after that.
Yeah. I totally agree. I am regardless, I am super excited for Borderlands for this. This is going to be a lot of fun. They did also, I'm not sure if you mentioned this or not, but they did show the new 4th skill tree for Flak in today's events.
That.
Yeah.
It's getting the heavy loader. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So his pet's pretty cool for this one. So, yeah, that's what I think they showed that one on purpose, because that's the one that I feel like makes the most like visual difference. Like, you know what I mean? Because it changes your play entirely, because you have an entirely new pet with entirely new things. So they wanted people to feel at ease probably with what's going to be coming for him. Really cool setup for him. I'm really excited about it. So yeah, looking cool.
Yeah, and I can't stress this enough. Like, I mean, adding a skill tree like these onto so many characters into these games, like, it's massive. Like, it'd be like giving new specs and abilities to every Diablo character in Diablo 3. Like, I mean, it just, the way this changes it is massive. So I really appreciate how much work has gone into this.
Definitely.
And the fact that, they're not necessarily adding more money in for that, is my understanding, is you can just get it with the game.
Yeah.
So it's pretty rad. And this is skipping forward to something I was going to cover on later anyway. But if you are listening to this, make sure you check out I think it's the Steam store is currently advertising this game at a very steep discount. I want to say it's 50% off right now. Yeah, 50% off on Steam for Borderlands 3 base game.
Ooh,
so check it out.
Need to get it for that then, for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Division 2. Did you guys play either of the divisions?
Never did.
Nope, me either.
God, carrying this fucking podcast, I'll tell you what.
That was the first one I haven't played.
I know. I'm just joking. So Division was, again, it suffered a very Destiny 1 thing, or Avengers Now. That basically came out, buggy as fuck, very little end-game content, and the loot sucked, right? So Division 1, when it first came out, great idea, fun leveling experience, but the end game was terrible. Then they spent some time and money on it, and the Division 1, towards the end of that cycle, wonderful game. Division 2, when it came out, very, very fun. Very, very fun. Same story. Got to the end game, nothing to do. Mm-hmm. Now, they've released a few different X-Packs since then. We're in the Warlords of New York expansion right now, or DLC, which my understanding is feeling pretty good. Like, people saying the end game is actually starting to come good again. However, there is a bit of the bullet sponge problem, which was a big deal in Division 1 as well.
Right.
Now, they are adding in a summit mode very soon, which I really love the idea of the sound of this. So the idea is, it is apparently a 100-floor skyscraper that basically you work through with your friends over time. So it's like each floor is like a mini encounter, and you go through that. Each one gets more challenging as you go up. But the big difference to that and the Hive experience we're having in Avengers Hebrew is that there's a save state. So once you finish each floor, that's the floor you load back in on the next one, right?
Yeah.
So thank God for that. So I do love that. And then apparently as you work out, once you've cleared the 100th floor, there's a massive reward. They've been pretty cagey about what that's going to be. I'm assuming it's probably some of the best endgame loot in the game. But I love the idea of this. There's a lot of movies where, fighting your way from the ground floor to the top floor is a thing, So, yeah, I really like the idea of Summit Mode coming to Division 2. I've wanted to jump back into that game a few times. I've never really found the right, time in between games to do it this year. But I think if there's any Christmas downtime for me, that might be one I'll go and have another poke in, especially if the Summit Mode is there.
It sounds pretty interesting. It'd be one that I'd look at getting into if like something like that was like engaging and fleshed out, and you could jump on with like your pals.
Yeah, well, it's very tactical. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I've just never been. I know objectively, this sounds like a great game, by the way. So this is just my opinion on it, but I've never been like a big. Like, I need more sci-fi elements to a game like this. Tom Clancy's never been like a. I know they make great games like Tom Clancy games, but I don't know. I've never really liked any of them personally, so it's not really in my wheelhouse. But I mean, it sounds really good, and I know it was a big deal, especially whenever it released. So,
well, the way they've recreated the world too is like very cool. Like, apparently, a lot of like the landscapes of New York, and I can't remember the setting for this one actually, were very accurate. So, and also the concept of it. I mean, basically, the end of the world all started with a respiratory contagion, and a lot of people died, and that basically upset the world's economies, and led to the collapse of certain cities where private anarchists rose up when the government lost control. They just left and put a wall around it. Sound familiar?
Yeah,
we're kind of heading
so
that way.
As an advertising campaign for this game, they basically put a bunch of money into making sure that it happened in real life. And then they're like, if you want to see what happens in the end, play the game.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
good marketing.
Now, at the start of the year, Piker, we sat down and wrote a list together of like all the games that were coming out this year. The two of us, from what we'd seen from last year's, E3 or things like that, we really wanted to play. And one of the ones that came up, what was it called originally? Gods and...
Oh God, what was it? Gods and Demons?
And something.
Yeah.
Might have been Gods and Demons, yeah, something like that. So look, it's been renamed, and it was obviously showcased a lot now, and we've seen some playable demos and some big gameplay out there as well. It's now been renamed Immortals Fenyx Rising. And Fenyx, in the trend of like, how people are like naming their kids now, but they don't want to name like Michelle like with M-I-C-H, so they're doing like MEISCHEIEULE, like all these weird spellings of names. So they spelt Phoenix like F-E-N-Y-X.
Yeah.
So Fenyx Rising. So this game looked very much like Breath of the Wild. Very much like it in all the pre-leading stuff up to now. But now that we've seen the gameplay, the best way I can describe it is it looks like a lot of mechanics from Breath of the Wild, but the control system looks very much like the last two Assassin's Creed games. So it looks like you move a lot that way. But then you get these big combos, aerial juggles, and massive super moves that for me feel very much more like a Devil May Cry game. But the aesthetic overall looks, I guess now that I've seen like a lot of the tooltips, the health bars and that sort of thing, to me it kind of feels like if Breath of the Wild and Torchlight 2 had a baby.
Really?
That's probably the best way to describe it. Like, check out the gameplay trailer, or if you haven't seen it already, folks. So that now has a release date of December 3.
Yeah, the way that you describe it makes it sound very interesting. Because all of those games are great. So if it's the child of those kinds of aspects of the game, then I think you can go ahead and count me in for it. So I think I'm going to have to look at this one pretty seriously.
Yeah, what do you think of the gameplay trailer, Piker?
It looked interesting. I'm kind of curious to see how much substance it has. I'm a little bit worried because from the original look of that game, it looks completely different. So I'm a little bit, wondering what this game is ultimately going to end up being, if they did have to do like a big U-turn, if it's, still has a good sort of trajectory to it. But I really liked the third person, RPG, how you can customize your character and their, what they look like, what they, the armor, the whole nine. So that was interesting. And any game that, ties in the Greek mythology and all of the different historical elements to it, I love. So I'll be definitely keeping an eye on it and kind of seeing what that game ends up being.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be pretty cool. The mythos aspect just really draws you in as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's very much like Greek gods influence. Seems to be where it's taking it. And the original screenshots, like Pike is saying, like they look very much like that Greek Hellenic reference. Like a lot of the artwork looked that way. A lot of the costumes look that way. Whereas now, it's looking a little bit more JRPG sort of style in the way the characters are designed, but blend that with very Nintendo beats. So, I mean, to me, it looks very much like if not Nintendo made Breath of the Wild. So, I'm excited. I don't know how open worldy it's going to be. I mean, a lot of the environments that they showcased during the gameplay was very contained into combat, sort of, not arenas, but that's probably the best way to describe it. So I'm curious to see how much open world exploration there is in this thing. But if they don't have it as mainly just combat, with the way the combat looks, it looks diverse and engaging enough that I think that's probably going to be what I'm going to play regardless.
Yeah.
I heard them say open world a few times in like the video on it, but there again, they could just be hitting, a hot button phrase to, pull in some people.
looking for those buzzwords.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, look, a lot of descriptions of open world games these days, and then you get in there and like you run into a wall in the first 10 minutes that's invisible and like blocking you from going somewhere. Like, is it though? Is it? So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. Like that was one of my ones I was really keeping an eye on. So I can't wait to see that. Now, one that has really fallen off my radar, and I'm going to Google this while I'm talking. So apologize for the super professional keyboard taps in the background. I think I need to move away from mechanical keyboards while we're doing podcasts, guys. Is the Amazon Studios game? What was that thing called? New World. What the hell happened to that? Like it was coming out, and then delayed, and then beta was supposed to be promised during August. I don't even know if that happened in the end. That game has gone through a weird cycle.
Last I heard, I thought it went into beta and people hated it. Like it got horrible reviews and they pulled it back from beta into like development.
Wow.
As in from August? I know that the first time they like had a crack at it like last year that happened, but you're going to happen again?
I think so.
That's not good.
I'll have to check that, but I think so. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it looked decent, at least decent from the trailers that they had. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously they're in control of the story there, but that's unfortunate. I mean, I give them a little bit of leeway because I think this is Amazon's first big step into actual game development.
No, second. And that's why I think Piker might be confusing this game with the other one. So they released a shootery type game not so long ago, and that's exactly what happened to that game. What was the name of that? It wasn't Crucible, but it was something in that sphere. But yeah, it's incredible how many times this game's been bounced. Because I was just trying to think about like what else was I really waiting to see this year, and that game I know was supposed to be out by now, so it must have been delayed again.
It was called Crucible, by the way, that shooter one that you were talking about.
Oh, it was? Yeah, that was exactly what happened. It came out, felt like garbage compared to Valorant and all these other ones that are obviously much more established. And it just got pumped. So it went straight back to the drawing board. Like that 100% happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's slated to come out sometime in 2021. So
the beta did happen. The beta did happen. So while we were diving headfirst in Avengers, I missed it. I actually pre-ordered so I could play that beta, and I've missed it completely. So I finished on the 5th of
well, there wasn't any news about it either, so it was very
there wasn't a peep.
I didn't even get an email alert or even a Steam alert that all happened. So I'm real curious. I mean, they're still saying it's due for spring 2020, but I cannot see that happening at this stage. Oh no, it's not. I'm looking on Steam right now from my pre-order. Planned release date spring 2021. Wow. So that's been delayed another year, guys.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So apparently that beta was for alpha version anyways. So
yeah. So it's obviously I have to have a look and see how people receive that beta. But the fact that release date has been moved back to that, I'm guessing it didn't go so hot. So that's 2 for 2 kicks in the nuts for Amazon's first cracks at video games in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Well, I expect some hiccups though. Well, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't though, because they have enough money to hire the best of the best of the best.
Right.
So
they don't really. They don't treat their normal staff well. I mean, are they going to do the same thing with their gaming
that's
division?
True. They are known for saving money where they can. So
yeah, that's it. It's all going to go to Bezos' ex-wife, right?
There you go.
All right, and the last one, and this is for a lot of older, golden oldie gamers, is the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, which I think was the original Xbox era, wasn't it?
I think so. I actually I saw this one and I put it on there because I was like, this probably means a lot more than it means to me, but I figured it was fairly big news. So I never played the original or any of the Prince of Persia stuff, but it was being made out to be a big deal. So I figured that to you guys, to you boys, it might mean something.
Did you play it, Piker?
I did. It was, I mean, I think I played it like when it originally came out. So, and I think I just played the original one. So I remembered a little bit, but it's not, I don't have the best recall of that game, but I do I do feel like that game influenced so many other games that came after it. Like you talk about sort of canon games, that really is one of them.
Yeah. I think, wasn't it Prince of Persia that was one of the first? I don't think this is a remake of this game, of the one that I'm about to talk about, but wasn't Prince of Persia like the first like side scroller game?
Oh god, yeah, I used to play that a lot when I was a kid. Yeah, so it was like a little side scrolly, like jumping puzzle, like avoid the spikes kind of PC game. Way back in the old DOS, stick in the giant floppy disk days. So that's how old that is. But no, it was the thing. Then there was Prince of Persia 2. There was a couple of bad ones through some of the earlier consoles, but then that was the first kind of fleshed out one. I think it had like the stop time mechanics as well. And like some wall running and some stuff like that, to the point where the game was popular enough that that's where they make that. Was it Jake Gyllenhaal in the Prince of Persia movie?
Yes, it was.
Oh yeah. Oh, the major flop, right?
Yeah, so they did that because of that game. Like the game was picked up so much, so it does have a following.
Yeah,
and the remake, from what I've seen, it looks like they're really showing it a bit of love. Which Ubisoft, like credit, it's probably credit this company doesn't get enough. They support games long after they probably should have let them die.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the games they're still putting out content out for now, I'm like, who is this for? Who is still playing that?
Yeah.
So yeah, when I see things like this, I know they're going to do a good job with this game. So it might be like for guys like you that never got to experience that game of that generation, you can, get a chance to do it now the right way.
Aesthetically, it looks in my wheelhouse, so I probably actually will give this one a whirl. But they were very adamant in the article about saying it is not a reboot, it is not a remaster, it is a remake.
Yeah.
So it is them building it from the ground up again with that, basically trying to mostly copy, maybe tweak like a few little things. But yeah, so they were very adamant about making sure everyone knew that specifically. So yeah, I mean, I'll definitely give this one a go. It sounds like from how they were wording it out to be, like it was a very much a classic game, early game, and like a little piece of history basically, from a well-known and loved series, and that this was one of its biggest installments that people really enjoyed. So that's why they're bringing it back like this. So yeah, I'll support that for sure. So I'm definitely going to give this one a crack.
Speaking of Ubisoft, and this will transition into your section of the week, which is the mobile gaming news. Did you see that Ubisoft mobile game, the Tom Clancy's Elite Squad?
Yeah, I played it. I actually mentioned it the other week. So once again, I'm not a huge Tom Clancy fan. Like, so I'm just not there. But it was not bad, but it was very uninvolved combat. Do you remember AFK Arena?
I do.
Less involvement than that in your combat.
Oh God.
Yeah. So it was it's kind of like an idle combat game, so it definitely has a wheelhouse, and it certainly has like a large player base as of right now. But it's just the combat's very uninvolved. Like there's only like a few little things that you can do while the combat's going. The upgrade system seems pretty average. To me, it seems very much like an average installment of a game. Like it's copying a lot of influences from popular games right now, which is to be expected in the mobile world. That's how it works. But yeah, it's definitely worth a go. If you like Tom Clancy games, you'll probably really like this, honestly. So if you're into like idle action games with some upgrading and stuff like that, it's worth it. It's worth a go. So definitely give it a crack.
Yeah, it looks okay. I mean, it's not doing well with the reviews. But then again, I don't trust reviews at the moment. But
mobile game
reading
reviews
some of the commentary
are terrible. Like you should never go off mobile game reviews. Honestly, rarely are they accurate. So,
well, I read some of them that actually had like reasonable commentary about the game, and a lot of it's repetition of all the things I hate about mobile gaming right now. Yeah, the microtransactional system, the uninspired combat. So yeah, it doesn't sound like a big one. Now, Lord of Heroes is one that you've been following for a while now, and you said it's got a launch date coming.
No,
right?
it just came out. It came out.
It has.
It just came out on the 7th. So it just had its global release. It was in where was it? South Korea, originally. Started over there. A very, very popular and good game over there. So that's why it got pushed into global. It originally wasn't intended to be global. But it got such a huge fan base and so many people following over to the Korean servers that shouldn't have been there. Wink, wink, me. So it got pushed into a global launch, and it's doing incredibly well. I love this game, people. It is very, very good. The graphics are beautiful. The storyline, I don't want to say, because I'm not like super far into it, but so far it's very good it's good as a baseline. I don't want to say it's amazing or anything yet, but it's good. It does have kind of an anime-ish influence. I know that's a polarizing comment because some people don't like that style, but you should definitely give it a shot. It's a turn-based strategy game, so it's very much like Marvel Strike Force. Plays in that same exact style. Enemies come in waves and things like that, but it is a beautifully animated and graphic game. The interactions between people in the storylines, they do them very well. It's all animated. So yeah, it just feels like there's just so much love put into this game. Honestly, you can tell, and it made itself kind of original. The characters are easy to get. You can go through the game and unlock the characters naturally. There isn't a lot of there is microtransactions, but not in a conventional sense. The thing that you're trying to go for here is gear, not characters. So you can get all the characters in normal ways and not spend any money. If you want to max out people on gear and stuff like that, you can. That's their quote unquote loot system. But yeah, it has a very, very free to play option roadmap. And yeah, they do a good job of writing that line and making it still a lot of fun for free to play players. And in fact, some of the I want to say the majority of the best characters in the game are actually early free to play grabbed characters. So you should definitely check this game out. I promise you will probably like it, especially if you like turn-based strategy games. Give it a shot. Muggin and I, for any of you guys that know him from the Marvel Strike Force days, he and I are currently playing it a lot. He found a bunch of launch coupon codes, I guess you could say, to get a whole bunch of free stuff. So if you come to the Discord, discord.me/ANR, I'll probably go ahead and put in a channel specifically for that. And you guys can talk about it with us and stuff like that, and we'll make a pin for the codes and everything, so you guys can get all the information you need right there. But yeah, really fun game. Please take a look. I don't often say you guys should definitely look at this game right now, but this is one of those things. So the developers deserve the attention, honestly.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Very good. All right, let's get into what is coming out this next week or so. Now, I'm updated this as well, guys, that what I've been doing is the day of recording is going through all the stores I normally visit, and just any deals that I see that kind of catch my attention, I'll let you know what's out there, just so you can grab a decent deal if there's something we think is worth your while. So starting out, now this actually was announced and released in a very short period of time, guys. The Super Mario 3D collection.
Yeah.
Did you guys see this?
Yes, I did.
I didn't.
Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy. Did you play any of those?
I love to this day my favorite Mario game of all time. Take a stab at which one it is.
If you say Sunshine, I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
It's Sunshine.
It's like universally the most hated of the Marios.
I love
Sunshine. As far as you can hate Mario. Oh, God.
I'm not sure.
I knew you were going to say it
sense.
too.
Makes
I
perfect
knew
sense.
you were going to say it.
I will say that, I was young whenever it came out. That was one of my first Mario experiences, so maybe it's nostalgia. I've never
Really?
I've never played it again since. But
Okay.
I love that game. I'm very much looking forward to playing it again, in fact. I'm going to get this and I'm going to play it again because that and Luigi's Mansion, dude, those were my games. I loved those games. So, huge fan. I can't wait for this to come out and play.
Yeah. Did you play Luigi's Mansion 2, by the way? I've heard really good things.
Yeah, I did, actually, and it was really good. My girlfriend and I actually played that one together because she loved the original Luigi's Mansion as well. So, nice. Really good multiplayer on, and it's also really fun. So, definitely try that out if you have a Switch.
Excellent. What about you, Piker? Which one was yours?
I remember playing 64. I think that was the only one I played, and it was way back in the day. But I remember loving that game. As a kid.
You're sleeping on the sunshine, my friend. Sleeping on the sunshine.
I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, there's a reason they're bundling Sunshine in with other games. Let's be real here.
I can't believe that. I don't believe you that Sunshine is universally hated.
It's the lowest rated and lowest loved of all the Mario
You're about
games.
to make me go on like a searching spree whenever this podcast is done.
That's true.
You're destroying his childhood, Chip.
Yeah.
Look, all Mario games, like, they're good to a point, right? I mean, Nintendo, they're very protective of him. They've made some games that haven't been as good, and Sunshine was an okay game, but when you compare it to the other Marios, just not at that level, right?
Dude, I disagree. The game was so much fun. I had a blast at that game.
So that collection's coming out on September the 18th. Now, every year we get at least one new WWE game, usually from 2K Studios. This year, they've got a very different one coming out in the next week, which is WWE 2K Battlegrounds. Have you guys seen this?
If you tell me it's a looter shooter, I stop the podcast right now.
Yeah, you have to unlock Rey Mysterio's jockstrap and his mask separately. It's on a 0.05% drop rate.
There we go.
The only way you can get it is if you can successfully land a pedigree from Triple H on Shawn Michaels. If you can get that combination, it unlocks, but only if you do it on Challenge 4.
You laugh. There's a game developer right now that's like, oh, shit.
Writing this down. Yeah. God damn it. People will pay microtransactions to see Rey Mysterio's ass. God damn it. So this looks like... The aesthetic for this looks weird. You know how, like, a lot of games... Nintendo 64 was probably the perfect era for this, where they had, like, cheat codes for big head mode.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the graphics for this kind of remind me like that they're accidentally doing that. So it's a very highly cartoonized, very over stylized, almost like what were we just talking about? Borderlands 3-ish type aesthetic.
Oh, what do they call that?
And
I'm blinking on.
You know what it looks like? It looks
shaded
like
comic type.
Oh yeah, cell shaded. That's right.
it looks like Celebrity Deathmatch from MTV.
Yes, that's the same vibe I got.
Yes.
The same vibe I got. Are you watching the gameplay now?
I just looked at some images and I'm like, I know this. This is Celebrity Deathmatch.
100%. Yeah, that had the whole big head thing as well.
Yeah.
So very similar vibes to that. And like, the move sets as well, like the moves they're doing, they're obviously not, as realistic as possible, where they've tried to like mocap the wrestlers and get their moves just perfect from the TV show.
This looks fun.
Well, that's what they're going for. They're just going for fun around it. So it's probably like, I like the look of it. I've watched some of the gameplay. I don't know that I'm going to buy it. But if I saw it like on a $10 to $20 sale, I'd think about it. Like, it's really over stylized. If you're a wrestling fan, have a quick Google, check out the gameplay. That's coming out this week. That looks interesting as a fun little side game. I couldn't see myself playing hours and hours of that one though. Unless I had mates on local co-op. That'd probably change my mind.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, like, this is kind of like the NFL Street series. You know what I mean? Like, this is what that reminds me of, which I loved, honestly. So, like, I don't know, this game kind of not taking itself too seriously. I'm kind of a fan of that. I actually might give this one a go. I've never really been into the WWE games before, but this one I might actually try. This looks interesting.
Now, do you guys know of the Legend of Crisis?
I do not.
CRYSIS.
I do not know about the Crisis.
No, I don't either.
So this is a game that came out many years ago, and still to this day is one of the most hardware-demanding PC games ever released. This game has been the benchmark for testing a new rig for years, right? Because it destroys computers. The way that it is hungry on graphics cards, CPUs, you name it, it'll stress a system to the max. And it's because when it came out, it was a gorgeous game. And it was a fun game too. Like, it was really engaging. It was all about, like, you have this suit that basically you put on, and this suit just has all kinds of special powers. Like, sometimes you can equip it so you can sprint super speed and like do massive jumps, stuff like that. Then you can equip it to like heavy armor mode, so you just a walking fortress where basically you're going to be a bullet sponge. The game came out so long ago, I can't actually remember the other modes. I think there might have been like an invisible stealth suit kind of mode. And basically, you had to get around in a very sort of Far Cry-ish type feel of this world with this suit. And you basically just change the suit depending on the situation and your playstyle, whether you want to go in their face or all sneaky. So they've remastered that game. Now, remastering that game, I don't even know how you make that game look better. Because, I mean, my memory of that game was just, it looked, for that generation, unbelievable. And my computer could not run it on max settings. Not even close. And I had a pretty decent rig at the time.
Wow.
So I'm really curious to see what they've done, if they've added anything, or whether they've just gone, let's see if we can just really put to the paces these new NVIDIA graphics cards coming soon. So I'll have to have a look at that. And I actually didn't check whether it's coming to console, because I know that PC was kind of always, that's where you needed to play that game. So I have to check it out.
It almost sounds like, what game was that? Like Deus Ex, like way back in the day?
Kind of, but Deus Ex was very different in the sense that there was a lot of things with that game I loved. I mean, I love that universe for starters, the Deus Ex games, where it's all, very cyberpunky future and, you like hacked everyone's a cyborg or a human, and that's the factions, right? So, whereas this, a little bit different. I think it's probably, if you blended that with Far Cry, you're pretty close, like with the jungle type stuff. Yeah. All right, let's talk about sales and pass updates. So if you are on the PlayStation Network, guys, your free monthly games for the month of September are PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Street Fighter V, which you can pick up for free. Download those now. In the PlayStation Store, there wasn't a massive amount of stuff. The BioShock collection, like I'm a massive fan of the BioShock series. That's currently 75% off. They've got a massive PSVR sale as well. I think they're worried that no one's going to buy a PSVR anymore because they're worried about PS5. So they're doing a huge sale of the big games over there. And Death Stranding, one of those games that really got overshadowed by so many others this year that a lot of people, I think, probably skipped on it. But I've heard the first 10 hours is rough, but after that, it opens up into a pretty good game. So if you can persist through that, that is currently 57% off as well. So that's not too bad.
Well,
Game Pass. Sorry?
No. Go ahead. I'll mention this afterwards. Go ahead.
Sure. So Game Pass, they've had a lot of additions over the last couple of weeks. The Tell Me Why series, chapters 1, 2, 3 are now out. I don't know if you guys have been following these things or the Life is Strange type games.
I've seen little bits and pieces.
Survival games?
No, they're the ones that's very much about like their story-based games, and it's kind of more like an interactive movie than anything else.
Yeah, I haven't seen them.
So they're quite popular. They're out on the Game Pass. Resident Evil 7 has now been added in there as well. Lunar Knights, World War Z, Crusader Kings 3, Hypnospace Outlaws been getting some good vibes. Double Kick Heroes, and then on the 22nd of September, so just over a week from now, Destiny 2, Shadowkeep, and Forsaken DLCs will all be added into the Game Pass, meaning that you can play all of Destiny 2's content right now for no extra cash other than your membership.
There we go.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah,
that is good.
Steam, not much great on sale on Steam this week, but 50% off on Borderlands 3. Can't recommend that enough. Epic Store's got a few things going on. They've got a discount on a game that I really love that a lot of people slept on, which is Disco Elysium. You, Hebrew, need to get Spider to play this game.
Really?
So Spider is a friend of ours who is mad into D&D. This game is as close to D&D as anything I've played as far as the raw mechanics go. So like you can fail. What's probably my favorite one? There was a moment where like someone's giving you shit and you got an option to like try and talk your way through and try and fight them. Right. And yeah, basically I tried to fight with a guy who had no business doing so. His stat rolls went really low and he critically failed so hard that he like basically decided to try and throw a spinning fly kick instead of just trying to punch the guy. Completely missed and like accidentally kicked a woman in the wheelchair standing behind him in the face. Jesus. Right? Just it's one of those things where like critical fails, critical successes, like the true D&D dice roll mechanics can just screw you so hard or get these things that just go so indescribably well beyond your expectations. And it's just a weird vibey game. It's not a huge combat-y game. It's a very much like a detective game, if you will, because you are a cop. You wake up hungover as balls in an apartment that's trashed with no memory of what happened, and you're trying to piece that back together. I don't know much of what happens. You are a cop. Yeah. Well, you fight.
So like a cop.
but you actually wake up and not even know you're a cop. Like that's literally part of the first things. Like you go outside of your door and you're like, mission number 1 is finding out what happened to your other shoe. And it's just like the first puzzle you solve in your apartment is, okay, I don't have a shoe and there's a broken window. Maybe I threw it out the window when I was drunk. So as you walk out of your apartment, you meet a chick and she basically says to your officer, good morning. He's like, wait, you talking to me? Like it's kind of one of those really engaging conversational, like you guide where the story goes. And then you get critical successes or fails based on those kind of things. So yeah, it's a really fun, underrated game. It's not for everyone. Like I think you really need to be into the dialogue and the story. But if you are with D&D mechanics, you're gonna love it.
Okay, well, yeah, that does sound good. So I'm interested. What's the
excellent?
What's the? I just want to. You've played all the BioShocks, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you know that they did announce a BioShock 4 is going to be coming? I looked at this just the other day because I was looking at it. Yeah, I can't wait for.
I believe it's at the height of Rapture, like you're going back into Rapture, but when it was still the city. So I reckon it might be you're there for the fall of Rapture, which would be pretty awesome.
Really interesting, yeah. I'm super excited to play that. BioShock has been like one of like my favorite series of all time. So, good stuff there. If you haven't played BioShock, as Chu said, it's on sale right now. They're the whole collection. Get it. You will not regret it. It's an amazing series.
Well, if you like that, did you play the Dishonored series?
Yeah, I did actually. And it was really good.
I get a lot of the same vibes from that. And Dishonored I really liked as well. Like it's very, very clockworky sort of feel as opposed to
Dishonored didn't get enough attention. Yeah.
Dishonored was pretty popular.
One game I really wanted to play it. I never did for some reason.
Yeah, I feel like that's what ended up happening.
It's on
like
Game
they had a lot
Pass,
of advertisement and stuff for it. Okay, well then you should definitely check it out because it was really good. But yeah, like I feel like they had a lot of advertising, but I didn't think it sold very well, but maybe I could be wrong. But it was a really good series. I had so much fun with it. Yeah. Okay.
No, I did fine. I think that one of the DLCs came out after it didn't sell too well because I think people kind of flew through that game. Like I've seen speed runs of Dishonored 2, which would blow your mind, mate. Check it. Type in when you get off this, Hebrew, after you finish watching the Butcher mini episode. Check out the gameplay speedrun for that. It's insane what these guys can do with some of the teleporty abilities and like taking over other people and making them jump off of buildings, creating distractions, all that fun stuff.
I assume it's a good series in general. There's so many of the speedruns. Watch the devs, watch the speedruns things. Yeah. It's hilarious to watch those. Give those a shot. But yeah, after I'm done looking up the Marvel Sunshine and the Butcher episode, then I'll go ahead and look that up.
Definitely. All right, boys, what else is on your radar? Anything else? Final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up?
That is pretty much it. That is everything. I wonder if we're ever going to have a short episode of this podcast because we're always at like the 2 hour, 30-minute mark pretty much every time.
Well, same thing. Yeah.
There's just too much awesome stuff. Look, as I said, this time of year, there's going to be a lot of long ones because COVID has pushed so much back to the back end of this year. Everything is happening now through till probably early to mid-December. And now that we're seeing a lot of movies being shifted to the final week of December, I think things are going to be pushed back to there as well. So, yeah, I think the early parts of this podcast are going to find some crackers. And then, you tend to have in a normal year, like April, May are usually very quiet in the nerd sphere. And then you get into the summer movies and So look, there'll be long ones, there'll be short ones. There'll be alternate episodes. There'll be special spoiler casts for things that we're watching that we know you guys are into. It's going to be very varied depending on what's happening in the world, man.
Definitely. I can't wait till we do the special episode for the boys. Oh my God. I just want to talk about it.
I know. Yeah.
We'll talk about it. A little while. Give me a couple of days to get, caught up and all the whole season to come out. And
I think we'll probably do it after the whole series or season comes out, I assume.
Yeah. We could do a halfway point if you want. We could do 4 episodes now and then 4 episodes later. And then we could make our predictions and see if we're right or wrong.
Oh, yeah. It's a good idea. I want to do that anyways just so I can talk about it ASAP. So, yeah, that's fine.
All right. Yeah. I'm fresh off it. So, Parker's got homework to do.
Great.
Yeah. Just go out there, traumatize your children, report back in 4 hours.
Yeah. Great movie for kids to watch, for sure. Watch it.
Absolutely. Fun for the whole family.
Dad of the year.
No, that's Homelander. So guys, that is getting us close to the end of this one. So again, we do need your help. If you have enjoyed listening to us today, make sure you subscribe to our podcast, our YouTube at Alternate Reality as well. Tell your friends about it. If you have gamer friends and nerdy friends, make sure you point them in the direction of the show. Word of mouth is what grows these podcasts, guys. If you have any Reddits or anything you want to give us a shout out, we obviously would love that as well. Discord, you name it. Make sure you join our Discord at discord.me/ANR. If you want to go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review, we will read out your review next week at the end of the show if you do leave us a 5-star. And if you want to go the extra mile and support us with some cash, you can head on over to our Patreon website, which all the perks and everything will start kicking in from October 1st. So you are welcome to wait till then, of course. We just want to give it a little bit of time from our last pods to this one. That'll be at www.patreon.com/ANRpod. So now onto the thank yous. So thank you to those who left reviews this month. There was a lot of you that left really great reviews but didn't write anything. So a lot of 5 stars. So thank you to all of you who we don't know who you are. But special thank you to these guys. So reading out the reviews first, we have DJ Dudley D. So Chew Piker and Hebrew have brought something incredibly entertaining to the table. Listening to these 3 guys chat about all the nerdy stuff I'm excited about is so much fun. Lots of great views and information, and each host gets to cover something that they're interested in, and you can hear it in their voices as they talk about something they love. From Hebrew's love for tabletop games, Chew talking about how jazzed he is about the new DC games, and Piker bringing it old school with Tony Hawk. Keep up the good work, fellas. I'll be sure to stay a while and listen, as he says from Decker Can.
That's good.
All right, V-Ball Pike. Chewy is back. Excited to hear your next adventure after the last podcast. Piker and the Hammer seem like great co-hosts. Listening to them is like being in a float tank filled with pudding, being covered in audio sprinkles. Can't recommend this enough. Let the audio awesome begin. However, it would be great if you guys let Piker out of the middle school bathroom that he's recording in. Just a suggestion. That was obviously after the first episode, I'm guessing.
Yes. Hopefully that is better now.
I just want to live in that guy's mind with that description. Jesus, that looks like a delicious place to live in.
There's pudding in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds comfy.
Take me to
Who doesn't love pudding?
I know, right? All right, and then K-Man says, just a bunch of friends talking about all things nerddom, games, movies, comics, anime, it's all there. Can't wait to keep listening each week for the updates and funny banter. So thank you to those 3 guys. We really appreciate the effort you took. And again, guys, the Patreon, we will start doing the shout-outs as of the end of the first episode in October. So that's when a lot of those perks will kick in. So check out that. We really appreciate all the support. So Hebrew Hammer, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Monsieur Piker, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. This was a good time. Let's do it again.
I think we will. Maybe many more times. That's a lot of hours this year that we're away from our wives/girlfriends.
Worth.
Just doing this. Good times.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
See ya.
Later.